Chapter 288. Qin Feiyang also felt uncomfortable. Concentric knot. Just from the name alone, it felt very ambiguous. It seemed that he and the mermaid princess weren't that close, right? Ahem. The mermaid emperor coughed and said, the appearance of this concentric knot means that you are going to be husband and wife. What? Both of them were dumbfounded. The mermaid emperor smiled and said, to put it more bluntly, the concentric knot will only disappear after you consummate your marriage. Isn't this forcing us to get married? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Putting aside the concentric knot, the mermaid princess was indeed very beautiful, but her lower body was a fishtail. How could they consummate their marriage? How could they cheat him like this? The mermaid princess looked up at Qin Feiyang and couldn't help blushing. She asked, "Father, is there no other way?" "No. The concentric knot means that your hearts are connected. No matter how you try to avoid it, you will become husband and wife sooner or later." The mermaid emperor looked at the two of them with a smile. He was very satisfied with Qin Feiyang, his future son-in-law. Wolf King came over and glanced at the two of them sneakily. "Little Qin Zi, you saw the princess body as soon as you came to the Sea of Despair, and now you have a concentric knot. This is heaven's will. Heaven's will can't be disobeyed. Little Qin Zi, why don't you get married now and have a chubby baby as soon as possible? If you die one day, at least you won't have no successor." Wolf King laughed sinisterly. Qin Feiyang's face darkened and he said angrily, "You bastard, get out of here as far as you can. What a troublemaker. Didn't he see that he was so annoyed?" The mermaid emperor hurriedly reached out and said, "Wait, White Wolf, what did you just say?" "Qin Feiyang saw my daughter's body." "Father." The mermaid princess glared at the mermaid emperor and lowered her head. Her cheeks were red. "Yes. Didn't your subordinates tell you? If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have been captured by your daughter and brought here. That's why I said, this is fate." Wolf King chuckled. "If you have the guts to say another word, I will castrate you right now." Qin Feiyang's veins bulged as he glared fiercely at Wolf King, his heart burning with rage. "Fine, I won't tell you. Lecherous bastard, I despise you." Wolf King glanced at him with disdain. He turned around and continued to loot for treasures while drooling. Fate? The mermaid emperor was stunned. He looked at the mermaid princess and then at Qin Feiyang. With a serious expression, he said, "Qin Feiyang, my daughter is innocent. You have to take responsibility." The mermaid princess said angrily, "Father, he's just a little brat. Why should he take responsibility?" "Little brat? Daughter, you don't understand the people on the land. They are already flirting around when they are 15 or 16 years old. What's more, you are only 4 or 5 years older than him. There is a saying that a woman 3 years older than her husband will carry gold bricks. You are 4 or 5 years older than him. It's equivalent to him carrying 4 or 5 gold bricks back. He has made a profit. Well, I have decided. I will marry you tomorrow." The mermaid emperor said. "Senior, it's not like that." Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. He even said something like, "A woman 3 years older than her husband will carry gold bricks." This mermaid emperor really knows how to talk nonsense. "What, you want to deny it? Let me tell you, our mermaid clan values innocence the most. If you don't take responsibility, don't blame me for falling out with you right now." The mermaid emperor said with a sullen face. Falling out with him? To be honest, Qin Feiyang was really not afraid. It was just that with such a complicated relationship, he couldn't get angry. What should I do? He racked his brains to think of a solution. Suddenly, an idea flashed in his mind. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Senior, give me some time, and also give the princess some time. After all, we don't have that kind of feeling between us. The mermaid princess said, "Yes, father, aren't you making things difficult for us by doing this?" The mermaid emperor hesitated for a moment, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Are you worried about my daughter's fishtail?" "Actually, you don't have to worry. Because we mermaids' tails can also turn into human legs," the mermaid emperor said. Wolf King's eyes lit up and roared, "That's easy, let's go to the bridal chamber. Wolf cub, I'm going to castrate you." Qin Feiyang was furious and couldn't hold it in anymore. He took out Chang Shui and pounced on Wolf King. "You're serious?" Wolf King was shocked and ran out of the palace without looking back. "This bastard is really infuriating." Qin Feiyang glared at Wolf King angrily and walked to the front of the mermaid emperor. "Senior, what I mean is, I'll think of a way to remove the concentric knot first. If it really doesn't work, the princess and I will slowly discuss the marriage. What do you think?" Qin Feiyang asked. The mermaid princess also hugged the mermaid emperor's arm and said coquettishly, "Father, don't worry about us young people, okay?" The mermaid emperor looked at the two and said helplessly, "Well, I don't care, it's up to you, but I have to explain it to you clearly." "Explain what?" The two were puzzled. The mermaid emperor looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Before the concentric knot is removed, you can't be intimate with other women, it will make your heart burst." "Daughter, you are the same." The two were dumbfounded. This meant that if they couldn't think of any other way to remove the concentric knot, they had to get married. "Ancestor, aren't you tricking us?" Qin Feiyang sighed helplessly. "In addition, when you are separated, you can feel the emotions in the depths of your hearts. If one party is in a life and death crisis, the concentric knot will light up and actively send a signal for help to the other party. Moreover, it will also guide the other party's direction," the mermaid emperor said again. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang felt bitter in his heart. It seemed that this was the so-called telepathy. "Well, I won't disturb your relationship." With that, the mermaid emperor turned and left with a smile on his face. "Relationship?" Qin Feiyang shook his head with a wry smile. Seeing this, the mermaid princess said unhappily, "Look at you, you don't seem to like me very much? Do I really annoy you that much?" "Annoy?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and shook his head. "No man would hate a woman as beautiful as you, but I'm not qualified to think about this now." The mermaid princess breathed a sigh of relief and asked, "Why not?" "Because I still have a lot of things to do." Qin Feiyang sighed deeply and said with a faint smile, "I'm going to stay here for a while. Do you welcome me?" "Of course." The mermaid princess smiled sweetly. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Then you go ahead. I'm going to cultivate too. Help me look after the white-eyed wolf and don't let it mess around." The mermaid princess nodded. When Qin Feiyang put on his clothes and entered the castle, Fatso and Lu Hong looked at him strangely. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at them and walked to the iron box without saying a word. He opened the iron book and prepared to copy the battle formula. Suddenly, he looked back at Lu Hong, his eyes flickering. Lu Hong was stunned and asked, "What's wrong?" "Nothing." Qin Feiyang smiled and turned to look at the battle formula. Originally, he wanted to try it with Lu Hong and see if he really couldn't be intimate with other women. But he was worried that it would destroy this balanced relationship. After all, Lu Hong was also a woman and had been with him for so long. He didn't want their relationship to become complicated. So after thinking about it, he gave up this idea. But just as he was about to copy the battle formula, a strange emotion suddenly emerged in his heart. In this emotion, there was a trace of disappointment, a trace of hesitation, and a little joy and expectation. This was not his emotion. It was the mermaid princess' inner emotion. Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that the mermaid princess really had feelings for him? Impossible. I must be thinking too much. He shook his head hard. If the mermaid princess really had feelings for him, she wouldn't have been so calm before. Besides, the mermaid princess had said it herself that she only treated him as a little brother who hadn't grown up yet. However, he discovered helplessly that he couldn't calm down and cultivate at all. This was because the mermaid princess' inner emotions kept entering his heart. He couldn't stop it even if he wanted to. This couldn't go on. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, trying not to think too much. About an hour later, Qin Feiyang finally calmed down. Rather than saying that he had calmed down, it was more accurate to say that he had gotten used to this feeling. However, no matter what, he could finally cultivate in peace. He opened his eyes and looked at the bottom of the second page. A line of small words immediately entered his vision. Only after entering the War Master realm could he open the third page. War Master, it won't be long. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He extended his index finger and pressed his fingertip on the first stroke of the battle formula. A wave of flaming battle chi surged into it. This was the battle chi of the 9-leaf fire lotus. The battle formula had a total of 9 strokes. Each stroke required a huge amount of battle chi. It could be said that it was dozens of times more than the return formula. However, he wondered if it would be like the return formula where his cultivation base would increase by a realm after successfully copying a stroke. Less than 100 breaths. The flaming battle chi in Qin Feiyang's sea of chi was almost depleted. This is too fast. He frowned. He mobilized the crimson sword chi and continued to copy. Less than 100 breaths. The crimson sword chi was depleted as well. He switched to the purple gold dragon chi again, but it only lasted for about 100 breaths. Gasp. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but gasp. How many battle chi pills would this require? He looked for Lu Hong and asked for all the battle chi pills. There were a total of 130,000 pills. Although they couldn't compare to a supreme-grade battle chi pill, there was nothing he could do now. Without the cauldron, Qin Feiyang couldn't refine them. He could only make do with them. Next, Qin Feiyang refined the battle chi pills as he focused on copying. Occasionally, he would be called out by the mermaid princess to walk around and relax. Of course, this was the mermaid emperor's idea. It was for the two of them to spend more time together and develop feelings for each other as soon as possible. Fatso and Lu Hong, on the other hand, paid no attention to what was happening outside. They cultivated diligently in seclusion. Their cultivation bases were improving day by day. As for the Wolf King, it spent its days in Undersea City, mingling with the merfolk. However, even though it was wandering around, its strength was improving. This was because Qin Feiyang had given it half of the battle chi pills. He kept the pills in a universe bag and hung it around its neck like candy. It would eat one whenever it thought of it. There was another use for the universe bag. It could store treasures. Chapter 289. As for the Mermaid Clan. With the recovery of the Mermaid Emperor's strength, the Black-Winged Guard and the White-Winged Guard did not dare to act rashly. Ever since the Black-Winged King and the White-Winged Guard were humiliated by Qin Feiyang in the sacred ground, they had not appeared in front of anyone. It was said that they were in seclusion. But no one knew the actual situation. And their attempt to force him to abdicate had also become a farce. Time passed. A month passed. Bang! The first stroke of the battle word art was finally completed. His fighting spirit soared into the sky. Moreover, Qin Feiyang's cultivation also broke through. 2-star Battle King. It can increase my cultivation. At this rate, when I master the battle word art, it will be the day I break through to the War Emperor. He was rather excited. Because in this way, he did not have to cultivate separately. He only had to focus on copying the battle word art. However, the consumption of battle chi pills made his heart ache. In a month, he had consumed 30,000 battle chi pills. There were only 130,000 battle chi pills in total. He gave half to Wolf King, leaving more than 60,000. Now that he had consumed another 30,000, there were only 30,000 left. It was probably not enough for him to copy the second stroke. True enough. After the second month, he was still close to successfully copying the second stroke. Qin Feiyang had no choice but to close the iron book. It was urgent to find the pill furnace. He turned to look at Fatso and the white-winged guard. In the past 2 months, the two of them had worked really hard and had not rested. This kind of effort was also exchanged for a huge harvest. In almost a month, they could break through a small realm. Now, Lu Hong was an 8-star martial ancestor. Fatso was also a 7-star martial ancestor. If this speed was spread out, who knew how many martial arts geniuses would be angered to death? But compared to Qin Feiyang, he was slightly inferior. This was because when he was in the martial ancestor, he could break through a small realm in 10 days to half a month. It seems that in less than a year, both of them will be able to step into the Battle King realm. Qin Feiyang whispered with a smile on his face. The stronger the two of them were, the more help they would be to him. Shua. With a thought, he appeared in the palace. Greetings, Sir Qin. The two black-winged guards guarding the door immediately ran in and bowed. After the incident 2 months ago, both the black-winged guard and the white-winged guard were now in awe of Qin Feiyang. Where's the princess? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. The princess is taking a walk in the garden outside. Do you want us to take you there? The two of them asked. Take a walk. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He walked out of the palace and stood on the steps in front of the door, looking forward. Dozens of meters away, there was a garden that was about 1,000 feet wide. In the garden, corals stood in great numbers and all kinds of underwater plants formed a beautiful scenery. On a small path, a blonde woman was walking slowly with her head lowered, as if she was thinking about something. That's right. The mermaid princess was walking. Her golden fishtail and wings had disappeared. What replaced it was a pair of long legs, slender and tall. She was wearing a light golden chiffon dress, which made her look incomparably luxurious. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed deeply and walked towards the mermaid princess. After spending some time together, he had already discovered that the mermaid princess had indeed developed a good impression of him. Those two long legs were undoubtedly the best proof. Qin Feiyang quietly walked up and patted her shoulder lightly. Ah! The mermaid princess was shocked. She turned around and saw that it was Qin Feiyang. She said angrily, "Why are you walking so quietly? You'll scare me to death." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. You're too engrossed in your thoughts. Tell me, what are you thinking about? The mermaid princess immediately looked away in a panic. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed inwardly. With the concentric knot, he and the mermaid princess's hearts were connected. How could he not know what she was thinking? However, there were some things that even if both sides knew in their hearts, they could not point it out. After calming himself down, Qin Feiyang asked, "Princess, do you know where to find a pill furnace?" Pill furnace? The mermaid princess was stunned and asked suspiciously, "As an alchemist, shouldn't you carry one with you?" "I originally had one, but when I was refining the prolonging life pill, it accidentally exploded." Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. It was embarrassing to talk about a furnace explosion. So that's how it is. In these years, many people have died in the sea of despair. We have also picked up many Qianquan bags. Let's go, I'll take you to see father. Maybe there will be a pill furnace in the treasury. The mermaid princess naturally grabbed his hand and walked towards a magnificent hall. Sigh. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and looked at the mermaid princess's hand that was grabbing his hand. He could not help but sigh inwardly again. A moment later, the two walked into the palace. The mermaid emperor was cultivating. When he sensed someone coming in, he opened his eyes and saw Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess coming in hand. His face was full of smiles. This meant that the relationship between the two had warmed up. It would not be long before he would have a son-in-law. Although Qin Feiyang was still young, he was handsome and dignified. Most importantly, he was mature and steady. His daughter was also well-educated and a national beauty. When the two of them stood together, they were simply a match made in heaven. The more the mermaid emperor looked at them, the more satisfied he was. Qin Feiyang naturally retracted his hand and cupped his hands. "Greetings, senior." The mermaid emperor smiled and said, "Don't call me senior. It sounds too distant. Call me uncle." Qin Feiyang was stunned and nodded. "Yes, uncle." The mermaid emperor chuckled. "That's right. Why are you looking for me?" The mermaid princess smiled and said, "Father, Qin Feiyang needs an alchemy furnace. Do we have it in our treasury?" An alchemy furnace. The mermaid emperor lowered his head and pondered for a moment before shaking his head. "I can tell you with certainty that we don't have one." "Then what should we do?" The mermaid princess looked anxiously at Qin Feiyang. "No hurry." Qin Feiyang smiled. The mermaid emperor said, "Indeed, there's no hurry. Look at you. Ever since that incident, you've been cultivating all day and haven't spent time with my daughter." Qin Feiyang was stunned. Was he blaming him for neglecting the mermaid princess? The mermaid princess said angrily, "Father, what are you talking about? Don't talk nonsense." "Am I talking nonsense? You two should spend more time together and talk more. How about this? There's nothing fun at the bottom of the sea. You two can go outside." The mermaid emperor smiled. "Really?" The mermaid princess was overjoyed. "Of course." The mermaid emperor nodded and continued, "However, you can't leave the Sea of Despair." "Okay." The mermaid princess was overjoyed. She grabbed Qin Feiyang and ran outside. Let them go out for a walk. Their relationship will definitely warm up quickly. Why am I so smart? A smug smile appeared on the mermaid emperor's face. After leaving the palace, the mermaid princess pulled Qin Feiyang and swam toward the surface of the sea. "Princess, can you slow down a little?" Qin Feiyang was helpless. "You don't know. Ever since I was born, father has never allowed me to go out. Every time I sneak out, I'll be scolded by him when I come back. I especially like the sun. It makes people feel warm." The mermaid princess said. She was like a canary that had just escaped from its cage, jumping and laughing happily. "I especially like the sun," Qin Feiyang murmured. For the mermaid princess who lived at the bottom of the sea all year round, it was indeed an extravagant wish to see the sun. The mermaid princess was not only beautiful, but her laughter was also very infectious. Qin Feiyang's mood also gradually relaxed. He might as well put down everything and accompany her to walk around. At the same time, he could also relax. Ever since he was expelled from the capital, he had been living under great pressure every day. Every step he took was like walking on thin ice. He was afraid that if he was not careful, he would fall into an irrecoverable situation. Especially when he entered the state capital. He was afraid that the pressure he would face would be even greater. Therefore, before entering the state capital, it was indeed necessary to relax and face the unknown with a new state of mind. The sun hung high in the sky. The sunlight spread down, making the calm surface of the Sea of Despair seem to be plated with a faint layer of gold leaf. Bang! A group of sea beasts suddenly rushed out of the sea. There was a huge Neptune crocodile. There was a sea python that was dozens of meters long. There was also a huge sawtooth turtle, a tiger king shark, and a Neptune lion. There was also a snow-white and extraordinary seahorse. If someone was here at this moment, their jaw would definitely drop. Why did so many sea beasts appear all of a sudden? And if one looked carefully, they would be shocked to find that there was a man and a woman sitting on the backs of two seahorses. And those sea beasts were all led by them. The man and woman were none other than Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess. Although the sea beasts of the Sea of Despair were very ferocious, they were very docile in front of the mermaid princess. What a warm sunlight! The seahorse stood on the surface of the sea. The surrounding sea beasts jumped up and down in joy. The mermaid princess rode on the back of the seahorse and looked up at the sun, her beautiful eyes slightly narrowed. Her golden wavy hair shone dazzlingly under the sunlight. She had a look of enjoyment and intoxication. Her light golden tulle dress fluttered gently in the wind. The white jade-like skin under the dress was faintly discernible and hazy. At this moment, she was like a painting fairy bathed in the sunlight, exceptionally charming. Unknowingly, Qin Feiyang was stunned. There was even an inexplicable restlessness in the depths of his heart. "Do you think I'm very beautiful?" The mermaid princess noticed his strangeness and her red lips curled up slightly. She was a little proud in her heart. Ahem. Qin Feiyang coughed a few times and nodded. "You're indeed very beautiful. But if you're not wearing anything like last time, then you'd be even more beautiful. Qin Feiyang, I didn't expect you to be a pervert too. Take this." The mermaid princess flew into a rage out of humiliation. She patted the seahorse's back and it immediately rushed towards Qin Feiyang. "Anyway, there are no outsiders here. We'll get married sooner or later. Why don't you let me feast my eyes now?" "Huh, let's go." Qin Feiyang laughed and patted the seahorse's back. The seahorse under him immediately ran wildly on the surface of the sea. "Pervert, shameless, stop right there. Catch me if you can." The two of them chased after each other. Countless sea beasts surrounded them like stars surrounding the moon. They gradually disappeared into the horizon. Chapter 290. In the blink of an eye. 4 months passed. In these 4 months, Qin Feiyang followed the mermaid princess to many places. The entire Sea of Despair, whether it was on the sea or under the sea, had left their footprints. There were thrilling encounters. There were also battles. There were also huge storms. There was even one time when a huge tornado appeared, and the two of them and the sea beasts were almost swept away. But more than that, there was laughter. Qin Feiyang's mood was unprecedentedly relaxed. It could be said that these 5 months of consolidation were very helpful for his future growth. The feelings in the mermaid princess's heart were also getting deeper and deeper. In the beginning, she would hide it, but later, she would occasionally reveal her deep love. To be honest, in the face of such a beautiful and kind woman, it would be a lie to say that he was not moved. If it wasn't for the fact that he still had so many things to do, Qin Feiyang would really fall in love with this woman and even stay for her. But there were some things that he had no choice about. There were some feelings that he had to bury in his heart. On this day, the 4-month-long trip was finally over. Because Fatso and Lu Hong had reached the critical moment of breaking through to the War King realm. Back at the undersea city, Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess went directly to the mermaid emperor's palace. The mermaid emperor glanced at the two and said with a smile, "You're back. It seems that you two have had a lot of fun outside these 4 months." The mermaid princess said, "Father, it's really interesting outside. If you have time, you should go out more often. I'm old, I can't walk anymore." I'm not like you young people who are so energetic. How is it? When are you going to get married? The Mermaid Emperor looked at the two with a smile. The mermaid princess's delicate body trembled, and she lowered her head in silence. Because on the way back, Qin Feiyang had already told her that he would leave today. The Mermaid Emperor frowned, looked at Qin Feiyang, and said in a deep voice, "Did you bully my daughter when I wasn't around?" The Mermaid Princess hurriedly said, "Father, don't misunderstand. He didn't bully me." "Then why are you so unhappy?" The Mermaid Emperor was puzzled. The Mermaid Princess hesitated for a moment and sighed faintly, "It's better to let Qin Feiyang tell you personally." The Mermaid Emperor controlled his temper and said, "Qin Feiyang, tell me what happened." Qin Feiyang said, "I won't hide it from uncle. I'll be leaving the Sea of Despair soon." "What?" The Mermaid Emperor suddenly stood up and said angrily, "Then what about my daughter?" "Uncle, please calm down. To be honest, any man who sees the princess will like her, including me. But everyone has their own difficulties, and I am no exception. So please forgive me, uncle." "Princess, I can only apologize." Qin Feiyang bowed and said. The Mermaid Emperor said, "If you have any difficulties, you can tell me. I can help you." Qin Feiyang remained silent. "Speak." The Mermaid Emperor said angrily. The Mermaid Princess said anxiously, "Father, don't force him. Just let him go. If we are fated to meet again, we will definitely meet again." The Mermaid Emperor said, "You silly child, aren't you afraid that this farewell will be forever? That can only mean that we are not fated to be together." The Mermaid Princess smiled, but it was very forced. Sigh. The Mermaid Emperor glanced at the two of them, and after a long while, he sighed, forget it. You guys can do as you see fit." "Thank you, uncle." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands. Next. With the help of the Mermaid Emperor, Fatso and Lu Hong successfully opened the third level of the Gate of Potential. Next. The two of them headed to the sacred ground. Qin Feiyang took out the last potential pill and handed it to the Mermaid Princess, smiling, "I only have one potential pill left. I hope you don't mind." If he had the alchemy furnace, he could still refine it. Unfortunately, the alchemy furnace had exploded, and he could only give her one. The Mermaid Princess shook her head and said, "I don't have any enemies here, so I don't need the potential pill. You should keep it. After all, you are wandering outside." "What a considerate girl. Little Qin Zi, you might as well marry her. Otherwise, if she is kidnapped by another man in the future, it will be too late for you to regret it." The Wolf King walked in leisurely and grinned at Qin Feiyang. "Shut up." Qin Feiyang glared at it and stuffed the potential pill into the hands of the Mermaid Princess. He also told her that she could only take it when she broke through to the 9-star Battle King. The Mermaid Emperor frowned and said, "Qin Feiyang, I don't care what difficulties you have. In the future, you will come back and marry my daughter." "Father, are you afraid that your daughter won't be able to marry? He is not the only man in the world." The Mermaid Princess pouted and said in a huff. "That's right. With my daughter's beauty, I don't know how many people will fight to marry her." The Mermaid Emperor glanced at Qin Feiyang indifferently and said proudly. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. "Boss, we are back." Fatso and Lu Hong ran into the main hall with a trace of excitement on their faces. "Did you get something?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. Hee. Fatty let out a sinister laugh. With a whoosh, 2 black wings sprouted from his back. At the same time, 2 white wings also appeared on Lu Hong's back. How is this possible? Qin Feiyang and Wolf King were dumbfounded. The Mermaid Emperor and his daughter were also in disbelief. How could someone who was not a mermaid obtain the inheritance of the first black-winged king and the first white-winged king? Lu Hong smiled and said, "We also feel like we are dreaming." Originally, they didn't have much hope, but they didn't expect that the result would really surprise them. The Mermaid Emperor asked, "Is it the same for the War Soul?" Lu Hong shook her head and said, "The War Soul is different. We only have an extra pair of wings, but the War Soul is not passed down." Qin Feiyang said, "Then what is your War Soul?" "Our War Soul is also related to the statue of the first emperor. Let's keep it a secret for now." Fatso laughed. Lu Hong was all smiles, but she didn't show any signs of speaking. "I can understand Fatso's reaction, but Lu Hong, how did you become like this? It seems that you have been led astray by the white-eyed wolf and Fatso." Qin Feiyang's face was filled with displeasure. "Huh." Lu Hong smiled but did not say anything. "Fine, you guys keep pretending to be mysterious." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at the two. To be honest, he was really curious. If it was related to the first emperor, then it must be an incredible War Soul. Wolf King glanced at the Mermaid Princess and urged, okay, let's go, or a certain little girl will cry." "You are the one who will cry." The Mermaid Princess glared at him, but her eyes were indeed beginning to moisten. Qin Feiyang looked at her deeply and said, "Uncle, Princess, we will meet again if fate wills it." The Mermaid Emperor waved his hand impatiently and said, get out, don't look annoying. Let me see you off." The Mermaid Princess smiled. Qin Feiyang nodded. The group walked out of the hall and swam towards the sea. Sigh. What should go will go in the end. It's just that I pity my obedient daughter. The Mermaid Emperor sighed deeply, his face full of melancholy. On the sea, the Mermaid Princess stood on the head of a Neptune crocodile. Qin Feiyang, Fatso, and Lu Hong each sat on the back of a seahorse. As for the Wolf King, he temporarily went to the castle. The few of them did not speak, and the place fell into a dead silence. In the end, it was Qin Feiyang who broke the silence and said with a smile, "Princess, please go back. I can hug you." The Mermaid Princess hesitated. Qin Feiyang was silent for a while, jumped down from the back of the seahorse and landed on the head of the Neptune crocodile. He stretched out his hands and took the Mermaid Princess into his arms. At this moment, the tears in the Mermaid Princess' eyes finally couldn't be controlled and burst out. "Don't cry, I'm not worth your tears." Qin Feiyang was a little sad in his heart. The Mermaid Princess cried even more fiercely. Her pitiful appearance made one's heart ache. Fatso and Lu Hong looked at each other with a look of pity. They were not blind. They could see that Qin Feiyang also liked the Mermaid Princess very much, but it was a pity that he buried it in his heart. Time passed breath by breath. Qin Feiyang gently pushed away the woman in his arms and whispered, "I really should go." The Mermaid Princess asked, "You will come back, right?" Qin Feiyang hesitated for a moment, then shook his head and said, "I'm sorry." He didn't know if he could survive in the end, so he didn't dare to make any promises. He could only say sorry. Finished. He resolutely turned around, jumped on the back of the seahorse, and shouted, "Let's go." The 3 seahorses immediately stepped forward and broke through the waves. The Mermaid Princess's delicate body trembled, and her face was pale. Seeing that Qin Feiyang was about to disappear, she suddenly raised her head and shouted, "Qin Feiyang, I don't want to be sorry, I want you to live well, I will wait for you, even if it is 10,000 years. Her voice reverberated in the sky above the sea, carrying a deep sense of love and reluctance. Qin Feiyang heard it. The words "I will wait for you, even if it is 10,000 years" almost broke the line of defense in his heart. His 7-foot body trembled slightly. But he didn't look back and quickly disappeared from the sight of the Mermaid Princess. The Mermaid Princess looked in that direction in a daze. Until the sun set. Until night fell. Until the stars twinkled in the middle of the night, she didn't leave. Child, let's go back. The mermaid emperor floated to the surface and looked at his haggard daughter with heartache. He didn't expect his daughter to have such deep feelings for him. The mermaid princess murmured, "Father, how did you feel when you fell in love with mother back then?" When two people fall in love, they will experience many things, ups and downs, life and death. Your path has just begun. And your path will be more difficult than anyone else's. Because Qin Feiyang has too much on his shoulders. He is destined to have an extraordinary life. If you really like him, you have to be strong and keep going. The mermaid emperor stood beside the mermaid princess and looked up at the bright starry sky with a smile. I understand. I have to work hard to cultivate. I won't be very strong, but at least I can help him when he is in danger. The mermaid princess clenched her jade-like hands, and her eyes were filled with determination. What a silly child. The mermaid emperor sighed and said with a smile, "Let's go back with father. Father will teach you those battle arts." Okay. The mermaid princess nodded and finally looked away. Splash. The Neptune crocodile carried the father and daughter and sank to the bottom of the sea. This place quickly returned to peace. Chapter 291. On the surface of the sea in the middle of the night, the three seahorses were like shooting stars. They were as fast as lightning, stirring up huge waves behind them. Fatso asked, "Boss, according to the seahorses' speed, how long will it take for us to leave the Sea of Despair?" "About half a month." Qin Feiyang said. "I wonder if the black-winged king and the white-winged king will come out and cause trouble." There was a trace of worry on Lu Hong's face. Qin Feiyang thought for a moment and shook his head. "No, the mermaid emperor will definitely keep an eye on them. This father and daughter pair are really good to you. Boss, can you tell us what difficulties you have?" Fatso looked at him suspiciously. After a moment of silence, Qin Feiyang said, "I can only tell you that my enemies are enough to make anyone afraid." The two looked at each other, their eyes full of shock. Lu Hong said in realization, "So you're afraid of implicating the mermaid clan?" "That's not right, boss. You're afraid of implicating them, but aren't you afraid of implicating us? Why does Fat Lord feel like we've boarded your pirate ship?" Fatso said unhappily. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Don't worry. If that day really comes, I'll let you leave in advance." "Leave? Forget it. Fat Lord is not the kind of person who doesn't value loyalty. As long as you're successful, don't forget that Fatso used to accompany you through water and tread on fire." Fatso said with a smile. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. He turned his head and looked at the sea behind him. He could clearly sense the emotions in the mermaid princess' heart. But he had no choice. "Take care," he muttered in his heart and looked back into the distance. That deep gaze seemed to be able to pierce through time and space and see the distant imperial capital. "Mother, I'm almost at the state capital. I'm just one step away from returning to the imperial capital. You must wait for me." Time was like sand between fingers. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Early in the morning, a long coastline finally entered the sight of the three of them. Behind the coastline was a vast mountain range. The peaks were stacked on top of each other, looking majestic and majestic. There were no signs of humans, only the roars of beasts. A moment later, the three seahorses stopped by the sea. Qin Feiyang and the other two jumped down. The moment their feet touched the ground, the three of them felt as if they were in a dream. Now that they were awake, Qin Feiyang turned around and looked at the three seahorses. He cupped his hands and said with a smile, "Many thanks for sending me off. However, could you please wait here for a while longer?" The three seahorses looked. "And at most." The three seahorses nodded. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands. The 3 seahorses turned around and quickly sank into the sea. Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and said to Fatso, "Go and check out the situation. See how strong the beasts in the mountain range are." Fatso's face turned pale. He said angrily, "Boss, you're too unrighteous. You're sending Fat Lord to his death, you know? Don't you have wings?" Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. "That's right, Grandpa Fatty can also fly now." Fatso patted his head and 2 black wings appeared. "Hee, let's go." He roared in high spirits and spread his wings. He turned into a black stream of light and rushed into the sky. Looking at that arrogant guy, Qin Feiyang was envious. Why not give him a pair of wings? He turned to look at Lu Hong and asked curiously, "What are your battle souls?" Lu Hong smiled and said, "I can only tell you that it's related to dragons." Dragons? Qin Feiyang was shocked. Whoosh! Fatso swooped down and said in a deep voice, "Boss, this mountain range is too big. I'm afraid we won't be able to get out for a while." Qin Feiyang asked, "What about the strength of the beasts?" Fatso said, "Very strong. Just within a few thousand meters, Fat Lord could sense more than a dozen powerful auras. They are not weaker than the lion-head eagle." Qin Feiyang's heart sank to the bottom. There were probably more beasts in this mountain range that surpassed the War Emperor. Lu Hong said, "Fatso and I have wings. As long as we keep a low profile, it shouldn't be a problem for us to pass through the mountain range. But you," at this point, her beautiful eyebrows slightly furrowed. Suddenly, as if she had thought of something, she looked at Fatso and laughed, "Why don't you carry Qin Feiyang and fly over?" Fatso immediately stared at him and said, "What kind of joke is this? Can't you see that Fat Lord is a heavyweight?" Lu Hong said angrily, "You can't possibly let me, a woman, carry him, right?" Fatso chuckled, "It doesn't matter, we don't treat you as a woman anyway, we're brothers." Scram! Lu Hong's face darkened. Truly, nothing good comes out of a dog's mouth. All right, you guys can't fly either, because at high altitudes, you'll be a bigger target." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent the 2 of them to the castle. At the same time, he brought out Wolf King. Next, Qin Feiyang looked around and memorized the coordinates of this place. This was because only by knowing the coordinates could one use the teleportation gate to directly teleport over. "Let's go." After memorizing the coordinates, he let out a long sigh, waved his hand, and quietly sneaked into the mountain range with Wolf King. Wolf King had a keen sense of smell. If they encountered a powerful beast, they would take a detour. If they encountered a weaker beast, they would directly start fighting. If they were discovered by a powerful beast, they would hide in the castle. They walked and stopped along the way. Until half a month later, a man and a wolf were still in the mountain range. "How big is this place?" Qin Feiyang and the Wolf King stood side by side on a short mountain. Both of them were incomparably furious as they swept their eyes over the boundless wilderness before them. They thought that half a month was enough to get out. But now, they couldn't even see the shadow of the edge of the mountain range. "Quickly ask Ren girl, what is this damn place?" Wolf King said. Qin Feiyang nodded, took out the image crystal, and quickly activated it. Not long after, a glamorous figure appeared. Ren Wuxia asked, "Feiyang, why are you looking for me?" "Sister, we have left the Sea of Despair, but we are trapped in a mountain range." Qin Feiyang immediately told Ren Wuxia the details of the mountain range. After pondering for a moment, Ren Wuxia said, "If I remember correctly, that should be the Quiescence Mountain Range." Quiescence Mountain Range? The man and the wolf's eyes darkened. From the name, they knew that it was not a good place. The Quiescence Mountain Range is very dangerous. It can even be said that it is the headquarters of the beasts in our spiritual state. To be honest, even my grandfather doesn't dare to set foot in it easily. With your current speed and ability, you probably won't be able to get out in 8 to 10 years. Ren Wuxiang said. What? The man and the wolf looked at each other. Even the mansion master didn't dare to set foot in it. Did this Wang Hong ask them to come here to die? They couldn't afford to wait 8 to 10 years. Ren Wuxiang said, give me your coordinates, I'll come and pick you up now. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, this isn't good, how are we going to explain to Wang Hong? Ignore him. He's clearly making things difficult for you. If he dares to blame you, I'll back you up. Ren Wuxiang said. It's good to have an awesome sister. Qin Feiyang chuckled and gave the coordinates to Ren Wuxiang. Although he also wanted to rely on his own efforts to get out of the Quiescence mountain range, time didn't allow it. More importantly, he didn't have an alchemy furnace and couldn't refine battle chi pills. Without battle chi pills, he didn't know how long it would take to master the battle formula and step into the battle emperor realm by absorbing the essence of heaven and earth. Swoosh! In less than 10 breaths. In the void in front of him, a beautiful figure appeared out of thin air. It was Ren Wuxiang. This time, it wasn't an illusion, but a real person. Wolf King waved his claws and laughed, little girl Ren, long time no see, did you miss your brother? Ren Wuxiang rolled his eyes. Seeing that the man and the wolf were in a rather sorry state, he laughed, thank you for your hard work, I will bring you to the city now. The city. Qin Feiyang's heart trembled. Ren Wuxiang waved his hand, opened a teleportation gate, and laughed, quickly follow me. Finished. She took the lead and walked in. Qin Feiyang lowered his head to look at Wolf King, and warned, don't tell anyone about the Merfolk clan. I know. Wolf King waved his claws impatiently, and ran into the teleportation gate like a wisp of smoke. Qin Feiyang turned his head to look in the direction of the Sea of Despair, sighed softly, and stepped into the teleportation gate. Soon, 2 people and a wolf descended in front of a single courtyard. The courtyard was very large, covering an area of hundreds of meters. In the deepest part, there was a 2-story pavilion, with carved beams and painted pillars, and an ancient style. The rest of the place was a garden. The small trees were verdant, and hundreds of flowers were blooming. An intoxicating fragrance filled the air. There was a secluded path that extended in all directions. There was also a small stream that meandered around. The water of the stream was so clear that one could see the bottom. Colorful fish were playing happily in the water. Beside the stream, there were several pavilions. It could be said that the scenery here was pleasant. Ren Wuxiang laughed, this is my residence, far away from the bustling city, very quiet, very suitable for secluded cultivation. Wolf King said, so, brother can also live here in the future? Of course. Ren Wuxiang smiled and said, after these few months of traveling, you should be tired. Go and have a good rest first, I will inform grandfather. Wait. Qin Feiyang was secretly shocked and hurriedly called out to her. What is it? Ren Wuxiang was puzzled. Qin Feiyang said, I am only a 2-star battle king now, I am not qualified to meet the mansion master. Let's talk about it later. 2-star battle king? Ren Wuxiang was stunned and looked at Qin Feiyang in disbelief. It had only been 8 months, and his cultivation had reached 2-star battle king. This speed was also shocking, right? It seemed that he had to work harder. Otherwise, it would not be long before this cheap brother caught up with him. After coming back to his senses, Ren Wuxiang laughed, we are already family, what qualifications are there to talk about? Moreover, my grandfather has always been interested in you. I am not interested in him. Qin Feiyang exclaimed in his heart and smiled, sister, actually, I am not ready. After all, he is a big shot. Others dream of meeting my grandfather, but you are making all kinds of excuses. I really don't know what is going on in your head. Alright, up to you. Ren Wuxiang rolled her eyes at him and led the man and the wolf to the pavilion. Qin Feiyang secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Shuang, why didn't you inform grandfather that an important guest is coming? However, at this moment, an old voice suddenly sounded. Qin Feiyang's heart was in his throat in an instant. Chapter 292. Whoosh! A weather-beaten old man instantly descended in the sky above the courtyard. He was wearing a long white robe, with white hair and a white beard, but his eyes were shining. His old body was straight like an iron pine. As soon as he saw this person, Qin Feiyang's head exploded. Back then in the capital, he had indeed seen this person once. He remembered that it was when he was 9 years old. The prefecture lords of the 9 states went to the capital to meet the emperor. At that time, when the emperor went to meet them, he also brought him along. Therefore, this person had also seen him. He just didn't know if this person could still recognize him after 7 or 8 years. He was extremely nervous. The mansion master came too suddenly and he was not prepared at all. Although his current appearance and temperament had undergone an earth-shattering change, he still couldn't help but worry. Because if he was recognized, he was afraid that he would not be able to escape today. Wolf King was also extremely nervous. Although it still didn't know the exact situation, it could still make some connections based on Qin Feiyang's one-sided words. After Ren Wuxiang noticed the reaction of the man and wolf, he looked up at the old man and said, "Grandpa, why didn't you inform us in advance that you were coming?" There was a hint of reproach in his words. The mansion master said unhappily, "Do I need to inform others when I come to my granddaughter's residence?" Ren Wuxiang said unhappily, "You came so suddenly, you will scare them. They shouldn't be so weak." The mansion master was stunned and landed in front of the 2 men and the wolf, sizing up Qin Feiyang and Wolf King. Suddenly, he frowned and fixed his eyes on Qin Feiyang, with a trace of surprise in his old eyes. "Have we been recognized?" Qin Feiyang was shocked and was ready to take Wolf King and hide in the castle at any time. After a torturous wait, the mansion master finally opened his mouth and asked, "Shuang, didn't you say that he was only a martial arts grandmaster?" Phew! Qin Feiyang secretly let out a sigh. It seemed that he hadn't been recognized. Ren Wuxiang smiled bitterly. "When I left the county of Swallow, he was indeed only a martial ancestor. I didn't expect him to break through to the 2-star battle monarch so quickly. And this wolf cub?" Ren Wuxiang glared at Wolf King. During the 6 months in the Merfolk clan, Wolf King had broken through 2 small realms in a row. He was now a 3-star battle king, surpassing Qin Feiyang. If it hadn't been so playful and had cultivated seriously, it probably wouldn't have reached this level. Of course, if Qin Feiyang didn't copy the battle symbol formula, the 60,000 battle chi pills would be enough for him to break through to the 3-star battle king realm, or even the 4-star battle king realm. Not bad, not bad. They are all good seedlings. The mansion lord looked at the man and wolf and nodded with a smile. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and smiled, "Senior, you flatter me. In the entire spiritual state, there has never been a person who became a battle monarch at the age of 16. Even among the 5 Dao geniuses of the same age as you, the strongest is only a 4-star or 5-star martial ancestor. So you are worthy of praise." The mansion lord smiled. "Old man, what's your cultivation base?" Wolf King asked. Qin Feiyang's identity wasn't recognized, so it became a lot bolder. "Old man?" Ren Wuxiang was slightly stunned and said angrily, "Wolf cub, don't be rude." Qin Feiyang also fiercely glared at it. The mansion lord was also a little surprised. It was the first time in his life that someone dared to call him old man in front of him. He. Ren Wuxuang is little Qin Zi's sister, and I am little Qin Zi's big brother. We are family. Old man, you don't mind, right? Wolf King smiled slyly. Qin Feiyang's face twitched. This bastard really knows how to curry favor. The mansion lord looked at it with interest and said, "What if I say that I mind?" Wolf King shrunk its neck and said timidly, "Old man, you won't be so petty, right?" Haha, the mansion lord laughed and seemed to be quite happy. He said, "When you have the ability to fight with me, you will naturally know my cultivation base." Humph, what's the big deal? Wolf King muttered in disdain. The mansion lord ignored it and looked at Qin Feiyang. "Go to the Holy Palace tomorrow, but don't use my name. You have to rely on yourself." "Yes." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands. "Also. Only Wang Hong, Shuang, and I know about your glorious deeds in the county of Yan. So, you're just a nameless kid in the spiritual state. I hope that you can continue to keep a low profile. After all, if you are too dazzling, others will be jealous. Also, I will not give you any help, including Shuang, the mansion lord said. "I understand." Qin Feiyang nodded. "All right then, I will go to work. You young people have a good chat." With a flash, the mansion lord disappeared without a trace. Phew. At this moment, Qin Feiyang finally heaved a sigh of relief. Ren Wuxuang said, "Feiyang, you won't blame my grandfather, right?" "Why should I blame him? He did this for my own good. He doesn't want me to become a flower in a greenhouse, pleasant to the eye but useless." Qin Feiyang smiled. "It's good that you think so." Ren Wuxuang nodded and smiled. Suddenly, she frowned. "No, from what you said, are you talking about me? How would I dare to talk about you?" Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Ren Wuxuang dared to enter the ruins alone. No one dared to say that she was a rich young lady. "I don't think you dare." Ren Wuxuang snorted coldly, turned around and entered the attic. She sat on a chair and said with a smile, "Tell me about your experience on the way." "There's nothing much to say. In the desert of death, thanks to a giant python, it sent us to the Sea of Despair. When we arrived at the Sea of Despair, Fatso and Lu Hong activated their battle souls not long after, and they even grew a pair of wings. So, they carried me and crossed the Sea of Despair." Qin Feiyang smiled and explained briefly. As for the mermaid clan, he naturally ignored them. "Wings?" Ren Wuxuang was stunned. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and Fatso and Lu Hong both appeared. He smiled faintly and said, "Let sister see the world." Puchi. With a thought, a pair of wings appeared. "What's going on?" Ren Wuxuang suddenly stood up and looked at the two of them in shock. Wings could actually grow on a human's body? Wasn't this too unbelievable? Fatso shook his head and smiled narcissistically. "Sister Wuxuang, how is it? Do you feel that Fat Lord has become more handsome?" A row of black lines appeared on Ren Wuxuang's forehead. How could such a meatball be considered handsome? What a piece of work. She shook her head helplessly and asked, "What battle souls did you activate?" She naturally suspected that this strange phenomenon was related to Fatso and Wei Wuyan's battle souls. "We're keeping it a secret." Fatso chuckled. Ren Wuxuang rolled her eyes. The world was big and there were all kinds of strange things. This sentence was indeed true. Qin Feiyang asked, "Sister, where is Yan Nanshan now?" Ren Wuxuang said, "I heard that he and Wei Zhongyang are locked in prison." "Why? Do you want to see him?" Qin Feiyang nodded. Ren Wuxuang smiled and said, "Okay, I'll take you there when you've rested." Qin Feiyang said, "I want to go now." "Now?" Ren Wuxuang was stunned and nodded. Okay, after all, he's your benefactor. It's good to go see him as soon as possible. She stood up and led Qin Feiyang and the others out of the courtyard quickly. At the same time, she introduced the situation of Shao Prefecture City to Qin Feiyang and the others. The scale of the prefecture city was dozens of times larger than Yen City. Just the residents in the city were estimated to be no less than 100 million. If you add in the floating population that came in and out every day, the number would be even larger. There were also countless large and small families. The entire prefecture city was divided into 5 major districts. They were East City, West City, North City, South City, and Central City. Apart from the Central City, the East City and the other 4 major districts all had independent city lord manors. Each city lord was the right-hand man of the prefecture lord, and was even a super overlord that could cover the sky with one hand. As for the Central City, it was undoubtedly the true state capital. Because the prefecture lord's residence was here. And such an important place like the prison was naturally also in the Central City. Moreover, it was right next to the prefecture lord's residence. Swoosh! Ren Wuxuang brought 3 people and 1 wolf and landed on a square. The square was more than 1,000 feet. The ground was covered with a layer of pitch-black stone slabs that had been there for a very long time. Ren Wuxuang pointed ahead and said with a faint smile, "That's the dungeon." Qin Feiyang followed and looked over. There was an ancient tower in front. It was completely black and had a total of 99 floors. It was several thousand feet tall and towered into the clouds, emitting an ancient and ice-cold aura. In the center of the tower, there were 2 large words written with iron hook and silver. Prison. When Qin Feiyang saw those 2 words, his pupils suddenly shrank. He could feel a shocking murderous aura from those 2 words. Even his soul was trembling. It was truly hard to imagine who had carved those 2 words. What was the cultivation level of that person? Following behind Ren Wuxuang, they arrived at the entrance of the tower. "Greetings, Miss Wuxuang." The stone door was tightly shut. In front of the door, there were 10 black armored guards standing upright. Every one of their eyes was as sharp as a knife. The aura emitted from their bodies was also unfathomable. According to Qin Feiyang's estimation, these people's cultivation levels were at least 5-star combat emperors. When they saw Ren Wuxuang coming, the 10 of them bowed and saluted. Ren Wuxuang said, "Open the door, I want to see Yan Nanshan." Yan Nanshan? The 10 of them were slightly stunned. The leader of the guards hurriedly said, "Miss Wuxuang, Commander Wang Hong has ordered that no one is allowed to see him." Ren Wuxuang said, "Then you open the door first, then go and call Commander Wang." The guard leader hesitated for a moment, then nodded and said, "Miss Wuxuang, please wait for a moment." He turned around and took out a black token from his bosom. Battle chi surged into the token. Immediately, a black light shot out from the token and entered the tower door. Clang! In the next moment, the tower door quickly opened. "You go and call Commander Wang Hong. I will bring Miss Wuxuang and the others in." The guard leader put away the token and instructed the guard beside him. He then led the 4 people and the wolf into the ancient tower. A dark corridor entered their sight, but it was not damp and there was no unpleasant smell. On both sides of the corridor, there was a stone door at intervals. Behind the stone door, there was a cell. On the door, there was a number. "Miss Wuxuang, Yan Nanshan is in this cell." The guard leader stopped in front of cell number 10 and took out a 5-pointed star object from his bosom. It was similar to a token, but more like a badge. This was the key to open the cell's stone door. He grabbed the key and inserted it into a groove on the stone door. With a rumbling sound, the stone door slowly opened. Yan Nanshan gradually appeared in Qin Feiyang's sight. Chapter 293. The prison cell was about 3 meters wide. There was only a fist-sized moonstone inside, emitting a faint glow. Yan Nanshan sat on a futon. Not only were his hands and feet chained, but his hair was also disheveled. His eyes, which were originally full of vigor, were now dim and turbid. Qin Feiyang could not believe what he was seeing. Was this still the high-spirited Yan Nanshan? He was already locked in the stone room. Why were his hands and feet shackled? Crack! He clenched his fists tightly, making cracking sounds. He tried hard to suppress the anger in his heart that was about to explode. Yan Nanshan was also looking at him. His empty eyes gradually regained a trace of color. Are you Feiyang? After a while. He opened his mouth and asked. His voice was hoarse and weak. It could not be compared to an old man. Boom! Hearing that voice, the anger in Qin Feiyang's heart was no longer able to be contained. It exploded. He turned to look at the guard captain and said angrily, "Why are you doing this to him?" The guard captain frowned. Who was this? How dare he speak to him with such an attitude? Ren Wuxia said, "Feiyang, calm down. Every prisoner on the first floor of the prison is like this." Humph. Qin Feiyang snorted coldly and strode into the prison cell. He squatted in front of Yan Nanshan and smiled. "Palace Master, it's me. I've troubled you. It's really you. It seems that I'm not dreaming." Yan Nanshan was extremely excited. His empty eyes finally regained a trace of color. He instinctively reached out and grabbed Qin Feiyang's shoulder. However, the iron chains on his hands seemed to weigh millions of pounds. He could not lift his hands. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and looked at the iron chains. His eyes were filled with coldness. Divine gravity iron. As the son of an emperor, he could tell the material of the iron chain at a glance. Not only was the divine gravity iron extremely hard, but it was also very heavy. Such a small piece of nail weighed at least 10,000 pounds. Not to mention the entire iron chain. Moreover, once bound by this iron chain, one would not be able to use battle qi. It was equivalent to becoming an ordinary person. Damn bastard! Qin Feiyang didn't hide his anger as he scolded and took out pale snow. The guard captain frowned and said indifferently, "No one can break this chain unless they have the key." There was a trace of contempt in his eyes. Clang! But before he could finish his sentence, with a wave of Qin Feiyang's hand, Changshue's sharpness was revealed. The iron chains on Yan Nanshan's hands were immediately cut in half. How is this possible? The guard captain's eyes widened in anger and disbelief. You want to stump me with a mere gravity divine metal? In your dreams. Qin Feiyang disdainfully raised his hand and swiftly cut off the shackles. Without the chains binding him, Yan Nanshan's body felt lighter. Good, very good. I'm relieved to see you here. He raised his hands and grabbed Qin Feiyang's shoulders, nodded and laughed. Qin Feiyang's forehead was sweating. Because Yan Nanshan was so excited that he forgot to control his strength. Qin Feiyang's shoulders were almost broken. But he endured it silently, and there was no change on his face. How dare you! However, a shout that swept away the atmosphere suddenly exploded. The guard captain looked at Qin Feiyang gloomily and shouted, "Don't you know the rules of the prison? No one is allowed to untie the iron chains on prisoners without permission. Get out!" Qin Feiyang shouted without turning his head. The guard captain was stunned. How dare he scold him? He looked at Ren Wuxia and said in a low voice, "Miss Wuxia, he broke the rules of the prison. I must arrest him. Rules are dead, but people are alive. It's Feiyang's first time in the prison. He doesn't know the rules at all." "Guard captain, why are you making a fuss? Ren Wuxiang frowned and said coldly. Making a fuss? The guard captain frowned. Guard captain, Qin Feiyang was just impatient. Please be magnanimous and don't hold him accountable. Yan Nanshan also hurriedly stood up and pleaded for Qin Feiyang. Okay, I won't hold him accountable this time. The guard captain said expressionlessly. He waved his hand and 2 more iron chains appeared out of thin air and fell to the ground with a clang. Put it on yourself, he said to Yan Nanshan. That contemptuous attitude and that disdainful look were as if he was looking at a tiny ant. Yes. Yan Nanshan replied respectfully. He sat on the futon and reached out to grab the iron chains. At this moment, Qin Feiyang grabbed his wrist and shook his head. As long as I'm here, I won't let you put this thing on. Yan Nanshan looked at the guard captain and said angrily, don't mess around, let go. Qin Feiyang didn't say anything. He held the Chang Shui and cut the 2 iron chains. You're too presumptuous. The guard captain shouted and reached out his big hand to grab Qin Feiyang's shoulder. No. Yan Nanshan's face changed. He didn't hesitate to slap the guard captain's arm away. The guard captain was furious. On his face, there was a vicious look that could not be removed. A prisoner should have the awareness of a prisoner. Kneel down with me. He took a step forward and pressed his palm on Yan Nanshan's shoulder, pressing him to the ground. Why should I kneel down? Qin Feiyang said coldly. His eyes were full of killing intent. He waved his big hand and the Chang Shui shone with cold light. The guard captain hurriedly withdrew his arm. This dagger could even cut the iron chains, let alone his flesh and blood. But Qin Feiyang's action had undoubtedly enraged him. Boom! A terrifying pressure drowned Qin Feiyang like a tide. His face suddenly twisted. The terrifying pressure almost suffocated him. Seeing this, Ren Wuxiang's face was full of anger. But she didn't say anything. Seeing that Ren Wuxiang didn't help him, the guard captain became more arrogant. But Yan Nanshan's face darkened and he shouted, Guard captain, you can humiliate me, but you can't hurt him. Boom! The aura of an 8-star combat emperor burst out from his body. The guard captain was sent flying and hit the wall behind him. Blood spurted out of his mouth. As soon as the pressure disappeared, Qin Feiyang's body went soft and he knelt on the ground. Yan Nanshan hurriedly supported him and asked with concern, Feiyang, are you all right? I'm fine. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Rebellion, this is really rebellion. At this moment, the guard captain shouted and stared at Qin Feiyang and Yan Nanshan. Qin Feiyang raised his head and sneered, so you're just SOSO. If it weren't for your status, the palace master could kill you with one hand. Arrogant. I'll report to the commander now and let the 2 of you die without a burial place. The guard captain laughed sinisterly. Enough. Ren Wuxiang shouted and turned to look at the guard captain. He said coldly, even if the commander comes, don't even think about touching him. The guard captain was shocked. Didn't this lady not care before? Why did she say such ruthless words now? Actually, previously, Ren Wuxiang didn't help because he had already said that he wouldn't help Qin Feiyang in any way in the future. He had to rely on himself. But seeing that the situation was getting worse and worse, how could she sit still? The guard captain struggled in his heart for a moment and snorted, Miss Wuxiang, I'm afraid this is not something you can decide. After saying that, he turned and walked out with a hint of greed in his eyes. As long as I can lock this kid up in prison, that dagger will be mine. It turned out that he had taken a fancy to Chang Shui. Why is there such a big commotion? At this moment, a cold voice came into everyone's ears. Then, a square-faced man in white strode into the ancient tower. It was Wang Hong. The guard captain hurriedly went up and said, "Commander Wang, you've come at the right time. Someone wants to break out of prison." "Break out of prison?" Wang Hong raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "Who is so bold?" "It's him." The guard captain led Wang Hong to the door of the prison and pointed at Qin Feiyang with a hint of viciousness in his eyes. Wang Hong nodded to Ren Wuxia and then looked at Qin Feiyang and Yan Nanshan. The guard captain said, "Commander Wang, this kid is extremely arrogant. He must be severely punished." Yan Nanshan said in a deep voice, "Guard captain, Qin Feiyang only helped me break the iron shackles because he saw that I was tired." "But you said that he broke out of prison. What are your intentions? Is what you did different from breaking out of prison?" The guard captain shouted in a stern voice. Qin Feiyang glanced at him indifferently and said to Wang Hong, "Commander, do you remember our agreement?" Wang Hong nodded. "Agreement?" The guard captain was taken aback as a sense of uneasiness welled up in his heart. Could it be that this person called Qin Feiyang was an old acquaintance of Commander Wang? Qin Feiyang said, "We agreed on 5 years. It hasn't even been a year. Shouldn't you fulfill your promise?" "That's right. But why did I hear that it was Ren Wuxia who went to pick you up? We agreed that we wouldn't let anyone help us," Wang Hong said. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang's heart filled with anger. "Commander Wang Hong, it's already amazing that Feiyang could cross the desert of death and the sea of despair with his own efforts. Which young man in the spiritual state could do that? Why do you have to be so calculative? As for the Silent Mountain Range, even my grandfather doesn't dare to set foot here. Aren't you making things difficult for him? I can't help but suspect that you have a grudge against Feiyang and want to use this as an excuse to get rid of him." Ren Wuxia frowned. Wang Hong's face twitched. He waved at the guard captain and said, "Go out and close the door." The guard captain hurriedly said, "But he wants to break out of prison, get out." Wang Hong's face turned cold. "Yes." The guard captain's body trembled. He hurriedly turned and ran out of the ancient tower, closing the door. Wang Hong glanced at Qin Feiyang, then looked at Ren Wuxia and sighed, "There are some things that I don't want to say, but if I don't say it, you'll suspect that I have ulterior motives." He paused and said, "Actually, this was your idea, grandfather." "My grandfather?" Ren Wuxia was stunned. Qin Feiyang and Yan Nanshan looked at each other, their eyes filled with confusion. "We were just testing Qin Feiyang's courage. It's not that he had to do it. If he asked for help halfway, I would have gone to save him. Who knew that this kid would be so serious? He actually crossed the desert of death and the sea of despair. I have to say, it really exceeded our expectations." Wang Hong smiled helplessly and turned to look at Qin Feiyang, his eyes full of praise. "I see. Until now." Chapter 294. Qin Feiyang asked, "Can you release the temple master now?" This, Wang Hong hesitated. Qin Feiyang's eyelids twitched. Zuan's matter is not child's play. We must give a reasonable explanation to the outside world. Wang Hong pondered for a moment and smiled faintly. "How about this, I'll release Yan Nanshan after a year." "A year?" Qin Feiyang frowned. Yan Nanshan smiled. "Feiyang, I know you care about me, but Commander Wang Hong is right. If you release me now, the outside world will definitely have opinions." Qin Feiyang turned to look at him. Yan Nanshan smiled and nodded at him. "All right." Qin Feiyang sighed helplessly and looked at Wang Hong. "Commander Wang, can you not let the temple master wear those iron shackles?" "I'm afraid I can't. Because this is the rule. Not just Yan Nanshan, even me and the other commanders, including the 4 city lords, have to wear iron shackles if we commit a serious crime. Wang Hong shook his head. Yan Nanshan patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder and smiled. It's all right. It's just a year. It'll be over soon. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed deeply and smiled. Temple Master, take care. I'll definitely come and get you after a year. Since Wang Hong had already said so, what else could he say? Yan Nanshan nodded and reminded him. Although your current strength has far surpassed your peers, you must not be complacent. You must work harder. Don't you know me? Qin Feiyang smiled. Yan Nanshan could not help but laugh. Indeed, this young man in front of him did not need anyone to remind him. This was because he was already working hard. Ren Wuxia smiled. Feiyang, let's go. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, Temple Master, we'll take our leave then. Go. Yan Nanshan waved his hand. Temple Master, take care. When we get out, Fat Lord will take you to pick up girls. Fatso smirked. Picking up girls? Yan Nanshan was stunned for a moment before he scolded with a smile, Fatso, don't be so frivolous all day. If I find out that you're dragging Qin Feiyang down, I guarantee that I'll spank you the moment I come out. Fat Lord has a lot of meat, you can beat him up as much as you want. Fatso chuckled and chased after Qin Feiyang and the others. I really don't know what to do with this kid. Yan Nanshan shook his head and laughed. Wang Hong said, you should be glad that you took them in back then. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be able to walk out of this cage. Yan Nanshan nodded and said, yes, they will definitely become the pillars of the spiritual state. Wang Hong smiled and took out 2 iron chains. He turned around and walked out of the cell, closing the stone door behind him. Qin Feiyang stood in the long corridor and scanned the stone doors on both sides. He asked, Commander Wang, which cell is Wei Zhongyang locked in? Wang Hong thought for a moment and said, I think he's in cell number 5. Qin Feiyang said, can I see him? This, Wang Hong glanced at Ren Wuxia and nodded. All right, men. The tower door opened and the captain of the guards jogged over and bowed. Commander Wang, what are your orders? Wang Hong said, open cell number 5. Yes. The captain of the guards ran to cell number 5 and took out the pentagonal key, opening the stone door quickly. Wei Zhongyang sat inside, looking even more pathetic than Yan Nanshan. He looked at the captain of the guards outside the door and said hoarsely, Sir, are you going to release me? The captain of the guards glanced at him in disdain and retreated to the side. Qin Feiyang strode over and stood in front of the door. Why is it you? Wei Zhongyang's expression changed, his eyes filled with disbelief. Surprised? Qin Feiyang's lips curled up slightly. He walked into the cell and squatted in front of Wei Zhongyang, smiling. Are you wondering why Commander Su didn't kill me? Wei Zhongyang's eyes flashed coldly. However, when he saw Wang Hong and Ren Wuxia outside the door, the coldness in his eyes was replaced by doubt. He asked, what are you talking about? Why would Commander Su want to kill you? Playing dumb? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He moved closer to Wei Zhongyang's ear and whispered, if Wang Hong and Ren Wuxia weren't here, I would have killed you right now. However, seeing you in such a pathetic state, living a life worse than death, is quite satisfying. You can stay here and suffer slowly. With that, Qin Feiyang stood up and left. When the stone door closed, Wei Zhongyang's face was instantly distorted, looking extremely ferocious. After leaving the prison, Wang Hong turned into a stream of light and left quickly. The guard captain walked in front of Qin Feiyang and cupped his fists. Little brother, I'm really sorry about what happened just now. Please forgive me. It's fine. Qin Feiyang glanced at him indifferently, then left with Ren Wuxia with Fatso, Lu Hong, and Wolf King. That dagger, I must get my hands on it. The guard captain looked at Qin Feiyang's back with a sinister look in his eyes. He turned around and entered the ancient castle again, opening Yan Nanshan's cell. Yan Nanshan was already shackled. He looked up at the guard captain and asked with a smile, "Guard captain, is there a problem?" "Of course." The guard captain went up and slapped Yan Nanshan's face. "What are you doing?" Yan Nanshan's face darkened, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. "What am I doing? Weren't you very powerful just now? Continue to fight back. Trash, how dare you hurt me? You're courting death." The guard captain laughed sinisterly and punched and kicked Yan Nanshan. He was full of hostility. However, Yan Nanshan did not even make a sound during the entire process. He only looked at the guard captain coldly. "Trash, your skin is so thick. My hand hurts. Trash." He seemed to have vented his anger. The guard captain swung his hand and spat on Yan Nanshan's face. He laughed proudly and turned to leave the cell. However, when he was about to close the door, he saw Yan Nanshan's cold eyes and could not help but shiver. "Congratulations, you've completely angered me. Just you wait, I will not let you leave the prison alive. Because in here, I am the law. I have 10,000 ways to kill you." A murderous intent flashed in his eyes. With a bang, he closed the stone door. Then he opened Wei Zhongyang's cell and strode in. He looked down at Wei Zhongyang and said with contempt, "Do you want to live?" "Yes." Wei Zhongyang nodded, his face full of begging. "Well, I want to know Qin Feiyang's situation. The more detailed, the better." The guard captain sneered. At the same time, Qin Feiyang and the others had already returned to the courtyard. Ren Wuxuang asked, "Feiyang, do you blame sister for not helping you save Yan Nanshan?" "No." Qin Feiyang shook his head. Although Ren Wuxuang was the granddaughter of the palace master, she had no power at all. There were some things that she could not make the decision for. Moreover, the palace master had already said that she could not give him any help. Qin Feiyang asked, "Sister, which district is the treasure pavilion in? I want to buy some things." Ren Wuxuang said, "Other than the central district, there are 4 districts. Do you want me to take you there? It's better not to, in case I get scolded by your grandfather." Qin Feiyang smiled and turned to walk out of the pavilion. "Brother Wolf, let's go and act wildly." Fatso shouted excitedly. "We are indeed kindred spirits. Acting wildly in the prefecture city will definitely be more satisfying than acting wildly in Yen City." The Wolf King stood up like a human and shot out like a rocket. Ren Wuxuang's face darkened and said angrily, "Both of you, stop it. Killing is not allowed in the prefecture city." "Got it." So long-winded. The man and the wolf shouted impatiently. They put their arms around each other's shoulders and laughed sinisterly. These two really want to see the world in chaos. Lu Hong walked behind them and shook her head helplessly. The mansion was too big. The 3 men and the wolf walked for an hour and asked the guards before they walked out of the mansion. Looking back, the gate of the mansion was majestic. 2 golden lions stood on both sides of the gate. "It's actually made of gold." Fatso and Wolf King's eyes lit up and they drooled. The 4 guards at the door couldn't help but look at them vigilantly, as if they were guarding against thieves. "Don't embarrass me. Let's go." The veins on Qin Feiyang's forehead bulged and he kicked each of them. Lu Hong chuckled and said, "I think we should let them stay in the castle. Otherwise, something will happen." As soon as she said that, Fatso and Wolf King turned and glared at her. Lu Hong shook her head and smiled bitterly. She waved her hand and said, "Okay, okay, okay. Pretend I didn't say anything." The man and the wolf smiled proudly and swaggered on the street. However, their eyes were sneakily looking at the shops on both sides. No one knew what they were thinking. As for Qin Feiyang, his head was lowered the entire time, as if he was thinking about something. "What are you thinking about?" Lu Hong looked at him suspiciously for a moment and could not help but ask. "I'm worried about Yan Nanshan," Qin Feiyang said. "Didn't you say you would let him go after a year? What are you worried about?" Lu Hong was puzzled. That guard captain is not a kind person. Yan Nanshan hurt him before. "I'm worried that he will take the opportunity to revenge," Qin Feiyang said. Lu Hong thought about it carefully and nodded. "It's possible. According to my observation, the way he looked at you was a little strange." "Strange?" Qin Feiyang looked up at her in confusion. At that time, his attention was all on Yan Nanshan and he did not pay much attention to the guard captain. Lu Hong said, there seemed to be a trace of greed in his eyes. "Greed?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something and his eyes lit up. At the same time, Lu Hong's eyes also turned cold. She said, "I understand. He must be coveting Chang Shui. You and I have the same idea," Qin Feiyang said in a low voice. At that time, except for Chang Shui, they did not take out anything. Therefore, this was the only explanation. "Then what should we do?" Lu Hong asked, a little worried. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and looked up at Fatso. He said, "Fatso, come here." "Why?" Fatso turned to look at him. Qin Feiyang said angrily, "Just come here. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Why are you angry for no reason?" Fatty and the Wolf King looked at each other. With their heads full of doubts, they turned around and walked to Qin Feiyang's side. Qin Feiyang said to Fatso, "I want you to bribe the guards guarding the prison in the shortest time possible, except for the guard captain." "Bribe them for what?" Fatso was confused. Chapter 295. So it's like that. Fatso frowned. This matter was not easy to handle, because those guards were all war emperors. If he was not careful, he would suffer. He could not help but sigh, "Boss, the mission you gave me is really difficult. I know it's difficult, but I believe you have the ability. Actually, you don't have to bribe all of them. Just one of them will do, but this person must be reliable. You have to observe carefully," Qin Feiyang warned. "All right, Fat Lord will do his best." Fatso nodded. "Not do your best, but you must do it," Qin Feiyang said seriously. Fatso took a deep breath and said, "All right, Fat Lord will definitely complete the mission." Qin Feiyang patted his shoulder and said with a smile, "That's good. Give me the ingredients for the potential pill." Fatso took out a Qianquan bag and threw it to Qin Feiyang. He chuckled and said, "After completing the mission, is there any reward?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and said with a smile, "Sure, when the time comes, you can buy whatever you want. But there's one thing you have to remember. You can use anything to bribe them, except for the water and cold avoidance pearls. Lu Hong, you have to remember this too," Qin Feiyang warned with a serious expression. "Why?" The two of them were puzzled. These were rare treasures. If they were to be auctioned, they would definitely be sold for a good price. The first reason why the mermaid clan could survive until now without being discovered is because they never appear in front of others. And the second reason is because the water and cold avoidance pearls are rare, so people can't dive to the bottom of the sea. Qin Feiyang said softly. If not for his relationship with the mermaid princess, he would not have so many worries. But the situation now was different. He had to do his best to keep this secret and not let the mermaid princess get hurt. Lu Hong and Fatso looked at each other, and a meaningful smile appeared on their faces. It seemed that this cold emperor's son had really fallen in love with her. It was just a pity for those water avoidance pearls and cold avoidance pearls. They had plundered quite a lot in Undersea City. Wolf King, in particular, had swept away at least tens of thousands of them in just a few months. Now, they could only be piled up in the Qianquan bag like trash. Qin Feiyang looked at the strange smiles on their faces and couldn't help but roll his eyes. He waved his hand and said, "Go on, I'll wait for your good news." Fat Lord is as good as two people. Fatso patted his chest and said. Then, he rushed towards the prison. Lu Hong retracted her gaze and asked, "Which district are we going to?" "East City." Qin Feiyang smiled. The two of them looked around curiously as they sped towards the eastern part of the city. They were still very unfamiliar with this city. As for Wolf King, without the like-minded Fatso accompanying him, he seemed to have lost interest. It was different from Yen County. Qin Feiyang was really unknown here. None of the pedestrians on the street paid attention to him. At most, they would look at Wolf King a few more times. Qin Feiyang also enjoyed this feeling. Maybe it was in his bones that he liked to keep a low profile and be calm. "I remember the mansion lord told you to report to the sacred palace." "What is the sacred palace?" Lu Hong suddenly asked. Qin Feiyang said, "The sacred palace is the combination of the martial arts hall and the pill hall." "Combination? You mean the pill hall and the martial arts hall have combined?" Lu Hong was shocked. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. The division of forces in the 9 prefectures was different from the 18 counties. The 18 counties had the Precious Treasure Pavilion, the Martial Arts Hall, the Danwang Hall, the Royal Family, and 4 super forces. But in the 9 prefectures, the only super forces were the Sacred Palace and the Precious Treasure Pavilion. However, there were quite a few other major forces as well. But there was only one person in charge, and that was the Mansion Lord. For example, the Palace Lord of the Sacred Palace, the Precious Treasure Pavilion, the people in charge of the various super forces, and the 4 city lords had to obey his orders. In other words, the Mansion Lord was the ruler of a state. Of course. Unless something major happened, the Mansion Lord would not intervene in the disputes between the various forces. He was an existence that transcended the world. Unknowingly, the sky gradually darkened. Although the central city was located in the center of the state capital, the Mansion Lord's residence was very far from the Precious Treasure Pavilion in the East City. With the speed of the 2 people and the wolf, it took them a whole day to reach the East City. When they reached the Precious Treasure Pavilion, it was already midnight. There were only a few people on the street. The door of the Precious Treasure Pavilion was also closed. Lu Hong said helplessly, "The city is too big, and it's annoying. This is nothing. The imperial capital is bigger. With our current speed, we won't be able to enter another city without a few months." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Lu Hong frowned. "That's too troublesome." Qin Feiyang replied, "No, every single city in the imperial capital has a fixed teleportation gate. We just have to pay a fee to teleport. I really want to check out the imperial capital as soon as possible." When Lu Hong and Wolf King heard that, they could not help but look expectant. "We'll go sooner or later, right?" Qin Feiyang's eyes shone as he scanned the surrounding streets. A few hundred meters to the right, there was a rather grand restaurant. It was brightly lit. Qin Feiyang said, "Let's stay at that restaurant for a night first." The 2 people and the wolf sped over. When they arrived at the restaurant, a clamor entered their ears. "Drunken Dreams Restaurant." Lu Hong raised her head to look, only to see 3 large characters engraved on the door in flamboyant calligraphy. A waiter ran out and sized up Qin Feiyang and Wolf King. He retreated to the side and said with a smile, "Please come in. I want 2 rooms. Do you have them?" Lu Hong asked. Yes, they are all top-notch rooms. The waiter nodded. Then lead the way. Lu Hong said with a smile. The two people and the wolf followed behind the waiter. When they entered the lobby, the people who were drinking and chatting inside all looked at them. However, they only glanced at Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong before locking their gazes on Wolf King. There was a trace of curiosity on their faces. Wolf King had broken through to the 3-star Battle King realm. His body was 5 meters long and 2 meters tall. The fur on his body was as white as snow, making him look quite handsome. Some of the slightly drunk young women with red cheeks couldn't help but see stars. Wolf King said proudly, I didn't expect this brother to be so popular. In the past, when people saw him in the county of Yan, it was as if they had seen a ghost. This was the first time he had been treated like this. Lu Feng, I want that wolf. In a corner. A rather beautiful woman in red was hugging the arm of a purple-clothed youth. She stared at Wolf King with shining eyes and said in a coquettish voice. The purple-clothed youth called Lu Feng glanced at Wolf King indifferently, then turned his head and looked at the woman in red with a lewd smile. Wolves are vicious creatures by nature. They are not suitable for a beautiful woman like you. If you want to play, I'll play with you. You can play however you want. As he spoke, he held the woman in red's waist with one hand and squeezed the woman's dress with the other, rubbing her 2 towering peaks. In front of everyone, it could be said that he was unscrupulous. The key was that not only did the woman not resist, she even catered with a face full of lust and giggled non-stop. The same scene was happening in a few other corners. The man had an outstanding temperament, and the woman was charming and moving. The other diners seemed to be used to it. How shameless. Lu Hong whispered, her eyes full of disgust. The disgust on Qin Feiyang's face was even stronger. Although the restaurant was originally a romantic place, at least they should restrain themselves a little. The waiter noticed the strangeness of the two and hurriedly said, 2 guests, please follow me. Lu Hong said, lead the way. The waiter led the 2 people and the wolf upstairs. Seeing this, the woman in red hurriedly said, Lu Feng, stop them. I want to ride it to play. What's the point of riding it? Go, find a room and ride me. I'll take you to show off and fly. Lu Feng squeezed the soft jade hard, his eyes full of lust. Bastard couple. Hearing this dirty conversation, Lu Hong couldn't help spitting. Ride me to play? Damn, you dare to treat me as a pet? The Wolf King was stunned, and then a wisp of a ferocious glint appeared in its bell-like pupils. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, there's nothing to be angry about. Don't forget the old man's instructions. Keep a low profile. This old man was naturally the mansion master. No, I want it. As long as you help me get it, I'll be yours tonight. The woman in red's coquettish voice sounded again. Qin Feiyang's face twitched, and he couldn't help but get angry. He muttered, don't ask for a snub. But when the purple-clothed young man, Lu Feng, heard the woman in red's words, he immediately lost his mind and ignored everything else. Smack! He slapped the table. He got up and looked at Qin Feiyang, the woman, and Wolf King, and shouted, stop right there. Damn, Brother Wolf is not angry. Do you think I'm a sick cat? Wolf King flew into a rage. Be quiet. Qin Feiyang glanced at it indifferently, turned to look at Lu Feng, and said with a faint smile, what's the matter? Lu Feng raised his eyebrows and said, didn't you hear what my woman said? Leave that wolf here. Impossible. Qin Feiyang shook his head. The woman in red giggled and said, you just want money, right? Just name a price. Qin Feiyang was stunned and said with a smile, it seems that you are very rich. Nonsense, do you know who I am? This young master has enough money to crush you to death. Lu Feng said proudly. Lu Hong and Wolf King looked at each other, and a trace of playfulness crept into their eyes. I'm a reasonable person. It's your business that you have money. What you want to do with that woman is also your business. I can't control it. So, please be a reasonable person and don't force me. You guys have fun, I won't accompany you. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and continued to walk upstairs. I'm giving you face, but you don't want it. Lu Feng jumped a few times, landed on the stairs, and walked towards Qin Feiyang with a face full of anger. Trash, what do you want? Lu Hong turned around and stared at him coldly. Yo! You have guts, daring to speak to me like that. Little beauty, I'm a person who has tender feelings for the fairer sex. If you accompany me to have fun, hee, I can consider it, but I won't make things difficult for you. Chapter 296. Lu Hong's gaze turned cold, as if she had transformed into an iceberg with a bone-piercing chill. Lu Feng's pupils constricted as he burst into laughter. I like women with a fiery temper. It's more exciting and interesting to play with. Lu Hong looked at Qin Feiyang with a cold glint in her eyes. Do as you deem fit. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Since someone came looking for a beating, there was no harm in teaching him a lesson. Although the state capital had rules that prohibited fighting, as long as both parties agreed, sparring was still allowed. It was fine as long as no lives were lost. Little beauty, as long as you accompany me for a night, I'll give you whatever you want. Looking at this cold woman before him, a strong desire to possess and conquer surged in Lu Feng's heart. He did not realize that a disaster was about to befall. Perhaps, he was fearless and felt that two people and a wolf would not dare to do anything to him. Lu Hong's red lips curled up slightly as she said with a smile, as long as you can defeat me, I'll accompany you tonight. That's what you said. Lu Feng's eyes lit up as he placed one hand behind his back. I'll give you a handicap of one hand. If I can't subdue you within 3 moves, it'll be my loss. I don't need 3 moves. Lu Hong shook her head and said with a smile. At least you know your limits. Bring it on. I'll be very gentle. Lu Feng scanned Lu Hong's figure and laughed lewdly. Get ready to wail. Lu Hong smiled and her face turned cold. Swoosh. As soon as she finished speaking, she disappeared from Lu Feng's sight. Piak. Following closely. A resounding slap resounded within the Drunken Dream Inn. What's going on? The diners below were shocked. They discovered that a blood-red palm print had appeared on Lu Feng's face. Then, they looked at Lu Hong. She stood in front of Lu Feng with a face as cold as ice. Did she hit him? Unbelievable. She's so fast. Everyone present turned pale with fright. You actually dare to slap me in public? Lu Feng was also stunned on the spot. His big hand touched his burning face, and his face was filled with disbelief. Smelly bitch, this young master will strip you naked right now and let you know the consequences of offending this young master. He suddenly roared and looked at Lu Hong with a ferocious expression, reaching out to grab Lu Hong's dress. Dirty mouth, slap it. Lu Hong said coldly. Her jade-like hand shot out like lightning. Smack. Immediately, a series of ear-piercing slaps could be heard. In front of Lu Hong, Lu Feng was just like a 3-year-old child, without the slightest ability to retaliate. A short while later, his originally handsome face was now covered in palm prints and swollen like a pig's head. The teeth in his mouth were also smashed into pieces, and blood splattered everywhere. This woman is so strong. When the men below saw this scene, they couldn't help but shiver. But what happened next made them even more frightened. Lu Hong lifted her foot and kicked. With a crack, Lu Feng's whole body flew out, and blood spurted out from his crotch. His balls were broken, and his bird died. Everyone was scared out of their wits. This woman was really ruthless. She actually kicked Lu Feng's balls. The crowd below retreated. Lu Feng smashed onto a table, and the table immediately fell into pieces. He fell to the ground, covering his lower body. Ah! He wailed in pain and kept rolling on the ground. His face was twisted and deformed. You don't understand what I mean. What I mean is, to deal with trash like you, I don't need 3 moves at all. Lu Hong looked at Lu Feng contemptuously, turned around, clapped her hands, and walked towards Qin Feiyang. There was not a trace of blood on her body. Her expression was incomparably calm. Qin Feiyang said unhappily, "Next time you do this kind of thing, tell me and let me do it. After all, you're a woman. Don't dirty your feet." Lu Hong nodded. Her cheeks were also a little red. She really didn't think of this when she was angry just now. Now that she thought about it, this kind of behavior was indeed a little indecent. She had to be more careful next time. The crowd below looked at each other. They thought that Qin Feiyang was going to blame Lu Hong for being too heavy-handed. But they didn't expect that he was just afraid of dirtying her feet? What was the background of these 2 people? Didn't they know that the forces behind Lu Feng were enough to crush them? They also didn't know that Qin Feiyang was a person who was not afraid of anything. No matter how strong Lu Feng's background was, if he provoked him, he would still kill him. It's better to keep a low profile. If you're too ostentatious, you'll get into big trouble sooner or later. He glanced at Lu Feng indifferently, turned to look at the shop assistant, and said with a smile, "Lead the way." "Yes, yes, yes." The shop assistant was also in a daze. Obviously, he didn't expect that Lu Hong would be so ridiculously strong. Hearing Qin Feiyang's voice, he quivered and hurriedly led the way. Kicking his balls is more painful than killing him directly. "You little girl, you're too ruthless, but I like it." Wolf King chuckled. Lu Hong rolled her eyes at it and said helplessly, "I learned it from you guys." Wolf King said, "This kind of good tradition has to be learned. Get lost." Qin Feiyang kicked. Didn't he see that Lu Hong was a woman? Good tradition? Shameless? "Bitch, what are you doing there? Come over here and help me back." Suddenly, Lu Feng's stern shout sounded. 2 people and a wolf looked down. They saw that the woman in red was scared silly. She curled up there, her face pale and her body trembling. Hearing Lu Feng's stern shout, her body trembled, and she hurriedly ran over and hugged Lu Feng's arm. Lu Feng endured the pain and struggled to get up. Following that, he raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang and Wolf King, and said resentfully, "Just you wait, tomorrow will be the day of your death." "All right, I'll wait." Qin Feiyang revealed a mouthful of white teeth. Is this a provocation? Everyone's hearts trembled as they searched their memories. However, after searching through all their memories, they couldn't find any information about this person. They were sure that this person was just a nobody, but why did he dare to challenge Lu Feng? Could it be that he didn't know how powerful Lu Feng's backer was? As expected, newborn calves were not afraid of tigers. Lu Feng laughed sinisterly, "Let's see how arrogant you can be, let's go." Wait. At this moment, a round middle-aged fatso walked out from the back hall. The fat all over his body jumped up and down, trembling non-stop. Wolf King opened his eyes wide and said in surprise, "He can't be Fatso's brother, right?" Lu Hong said, "How is that possible? Even if they are related, he should be Fatso's father." Qin Feiyang was speechless. "I say, the 2 of you, that's enough, especially you white-eyed wolf, you have already led Lu Hong astray. Let me tell you, don't push everything onto me, I'm not a fool." Wolf King glared fiercely at Qin Feiyang. Lu Hong could not help but cover her mouth and snicker. The middle-aged fatso blocked in front of Lu Feng, like a smiling Buddha, and asked very politely, "Young Master Lu, if you leave just like that, what about my losses? What do you have to lose? Isn't it just a broken table?" Lu Feng roared in exasperation. Didn't he see that he was already like this? He even asked him to compensate for his losses. He was really blind. However, because he spoke too forcefully, it affected the wound on his lower body, causing him to grimace in pain and howl miserably. The middle-aged fatso laughed happily. Lu Feng roared with a sinister expression, "Bastard, you actually dare to laugh at this young master. Do you believe that this young master will bring people tomorrow and tear down this broken building of yours? We'll talk about tomorrow's matters tomorrow. As for now, let's talk about the compensation first. Wait a minute, let me calculate, how much did we lose?" The middle-aged fatso walked to the broken table and scanned the messy ground. Soon, he calculated a number in his heart. He turned and walked in front of Lu Feng, chuckling, "Young Master Lu, a total of 10 million gold coins, is it on account or in cash?" "What? 10 million? The people present, including Qin Feiyang and Wolf King, were all dumbfounded. With just this little loss, no matter how they calculated, it would not be 10 million gold coins. Wasn't this daylight robbery? Is this a black shop? The two men and the wolf looked at each other. Even the shop assistants felt that it was inconceivable. Lu Feng was also stunned for a moment, and suddenly went crazy with anger, roaring, "Damn fatso, you're deliberately looking for trouble, aren't you? Do you think that this young master really doesn't dare to touch your drunken dream house? I'm not looking for trouble." The middle-aged fatso had an innocent face. "Let me calculate with you." The wood used for the table was a 10,000-year-old ancient tree. It had been carved by several master carvers over the course of a year. It can be said that it is priceless. And those chairs are also thousands of years old ancient trees. In addition, those plates and chopsticks are all polished with peerless jade. And that floor, although it looks ordinary, it is the real best amber stone. In fact, 10 million gold coins is already a discount for you. The middle-aged fatso laughed. The whole place was silent, and they all looked at the middle-aged fatso speechlessly. That 10,000-year-old ancient tree was actually the most ordinary wood, estimated to be less than 10 years old. As for those plates and chopsticks, they were indeed polished with jade, but no matter how they looked at it, they were not peerless jade. As for the top-grade amber stone, it was even more ridiculous. It was simply an ordinary stone that couldn't be more ordinary. In the mountains outside the city, there was a large pile. Wolf King bared his teeth and said, "I finally see what is the real meaning of shamelessness. This fatso is simply too outrageous." Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong nodded, deeply agreeing. As for Lu Feng, his face was ashen, and his eyes were as if he wanted to kill someone. This was a blatant extortion. They also attacked. "Why don't you ask them for compensation? Are you blind? Can't you see that I'm also a victim?" Lu Feng pointed at Qin Feiyang and Wolf King upstairs and roared. "Ha! It's because I'm not blind that I saw that you were the one who started it. They have already tolerated you several times. Our drunken dream house is open for business, we definitely can't wrong a good person, right?" The middle-aged fatso laughed. "Interesting." Qin Feiyang raised the corner of his mouth. Lu Feng glanced at the two people and the wolf, then looked at the middle-aged fatso, and gnashed his teeth. "Fine, you win, record it for me, let's go." The woman in red immediately supported him and walked outside. Chapter 297. Lu Feng immediately staggered. If not for the woman in red supporting him, he would have fallen. Although he did not fall, this stagger caused blood to flow from his lower body. Between his legs, there was a heart-wrenching pain. Bitch, just you wait. If I don't settle this score with you, I swear I'm not human. He turned his head and looked at Lu Hong ferociously. Then, with a heart full of humiliation, he left without looking back. Humph. Lu Hong snorted coldly, a hint of killing intent lurking in the depths of her eyes. The middle-aged fatso withdrew his gaze and glanced at everyone present. His eyes instantly darkened. Do you know why I did this? Everyone shook their heads. Those who come to my drunken dream inn are all guests. I don't want to see anyone causing trouble here and destroying the harmonious atmosphere. Lu Feng's matter, take it as a lesson. If anyone dares to cause trouble here in the future, it won't be so simple. After the middle-aged fatso finished speaking, he raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. He nodded with a smile and turned to leave. So that's how it is. Until now. Everyone understood the middle-aged fatso's intention. But soon, everyone's eyes gathered on Qin Feiyang and the others. There was a trace of gloating in their eyes. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and turned to the waiter. Where's the room? This way. The waiter led them to a corner on the second floor and opened the door. It was very big inside, with a tea room, bedroom, and dining room. The decoration was also very luxurious. The waiter smiled. The other room is next door. Lu Hong said, take me there. Qin Feiyang suddenly said, no need, we only need one room. The waiter was stunned and nodded. Okay. Qin Feiyang walked into the room and said to the waiter, I have something to ask you. The waiter said apologetically, I'm sorry, I have to go down to entertain the guests. Qin Feiyang nodded to Lu Hong. Lu Hong understood and took out 100 gold coins. She smiled and said, is this enough? The shop assistant was dumbfounded. So many gold coins? He quickly nodded and said, yes, yes, yes. As he spoke, he quickly put it into his universe bag, as if he was afraid that Qin Feiyang would change his mind. After the waiter and Wolf King entered the room, Lu Hong closed the door and obediently walked into the tea room. After cleaning the tea set, he took out the best tea leaves from his Qiankuan bag and began to brew tea. These tea leaves were specially prepared for Qin Feiyang. Because she knew that Qin Feiyang didn't like to drink, he only liked to drink tea. Sitting beside the coffee table, Qin Feiyang pointed to the chair beside him and smiled. Don't be nervous. Sit down and talk. The shop assistant waved his hand and said, no need, no need. I'll stand. Qin Feiyang didn't force the issue and asked, is the Lu family very strong? Very strong. The shop assistant said that the Lu family was the largest family in the East City. At least half of the young disciples in the family had entered the Holy Palace. The Lu family's ancestor was the castellan of the East City. It's a bit unexpected. Qin Feiyang muttered and asked again, what about the Drunken Dream Pavilion? The Drunken Dream Pavilion is the largest restaurant in the city. No, it should be the largest restaurant in the spirit state. Because, whether it's the 4 major districts of the city or the cities outside the city, there's a Drunken Dream Pavilion. Rumor has it that the Pavilion Lord of the Drunken Dream Pavilion has a very good relationship with the castellan. The shop assistant said truthfully. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. No wonder the middle-aged fatso blatantly extorted Lu Feng. Qin Feiyang said, who is that middle-aged fatso? He's the Pavilion Lord of the Drunken Dream Pavilion in the East City. His name is He Dade. We all call him Pavilion Lord He, but outsiders call him He Wicked. The shop assistant said with a smile. The Wolf King sat on the chair like a human and bared his teeth. The name Hikeda suits him very well. The shop assistant was stunned and said with a wry smile, actually, Pavilion Lord He is a good person. He takes good care of us. I can see that. Qin Feiyang smiled and waved his hand, you can leave. Prepare some good dishes and send them to me as soon as possible. Wolf King added, remember to ask for a lot. This brother's appetite is very big. Also, the wine must be the best. Give this brother 180 jugs first. 180 jugs? The shop assistant's jaw almost dropped from shock. Wolf King said unhappily, are you afraid this brother can't afford it? The shop assistant hurriedly waved his hand and said, no, but Lord Wolf, can you finish it? 100 gold coins in one shot. These 2 people and 1 wolf were obviously rich people. How could they not be able to pay? Wolf King shouted, cut the crap, hurry up. Yes, this little one will arrange it right away. The shop assistant responded respectfully, turned around and trotted out. Lu Hong poured a cup of tea and pushed it in front of Qin Feiyang. She said with a smile, Brother Wolf, aren't you afraid of bursting your stomach? Wolf King chuckled and said, this brother's stomach is very big. Not to mention 180 jugs, even if there are a few hundred jugs, I can still drink it. Qin Feiyang said, I won't object to drinking, but don't make trouble after drinking. Wolf King waved his paw impatiently and said, so long-winded. Don't worry, this brother's wine tolerance is very good. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes, picked up the teacup and tasted it. He couldn't help but be stunned. Every time, the tea that Lu Hong brewed would have the same taste. There was a hint of sweetness in the fragrance, but if one tasted it carefully, they would find that it was mixed with a hint of bitterness. He liked this kind of tea very much. However, it was not a coincidence that it tasted the same every time. He turned to look at Lu Hong with a strange look in his eyes. Lu Hong was puzzled and asked, what's wrong? You don't like the taste of this tea? Then I'll find you other tea leaves tomorrow. Thank you. Qin Feiyang smiled and said. Thank me? Lu Hong was stunned. You're too kind. I like the taste of this tea very much. Qin Feiyang smiled. Lu Hong revealed a look of realization and said with a smile, actually, you don't have to thank me. If it weren't for your help, I would still be a small figure in the Danwang Hall. She was very emotional. The 3rd level of the Gate of Potential. She had become a 1-star battle king at the age of 18. She also had white wings and battle soul. She had even entered the state capital. In the past, she wouldn't even dare to think about these. And all of these were brought to her by the man in front of her. Of course. The person she should be most grateful to was Fatso. If it weren't for Fatso dragging her into his trap, she wouldn't have achieved what she had today. She couldn't help but want to laugh when she thought of what happened back then. Soon. The waiter served the dishes. Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong ate a little and put down their bowls and chopsticks, leaving the Wolf King to devour everything. He even howled from time to time. Lu Hong found it funny. She had never seen such a way of eating. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something and turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked, you didn't let me stay next door because you were worried that Lu Feng would harm me? Yes. You were so ruthless. He definitely won't let it go. But don't worry. This is a dispute between the younger generation. The older generation of the Lu family won't interfere. After all, this is the state capital, not the county of Yen. If the older generation were to interfere, the Lu family would really become a joke. Qin Feiyang smiled. Wolf King chuckled and said, as long as the older generation doesn't interfere, we can sweep them away with our current strength. Lu Hong also smiled. Qin Feiyang said, but I'm afraid that Lu Feng will send someone to assassinate us. So, we have to be extra careful. Okay. The man and the wolf nodded. Qin Feiyang said, contact Fatso. Lu Hong took out the image crystal and quickly activated it. Soon, Fatty's image condensed into a phantom. Lu Hong asked, how is it? Fatso burped and said unhappily, so fast. You're here. Fat Lord is still looking for information about them. It will take at least 5 days to half a month to get results. You were drinking over there? Qin Feiyang frowned. I drank a little, but Fat Lord knows his limits. He won't mess things up. Fatso chuckled and patted his chest. Qin Feiyang said, it's good that you know your limits. Be careful over there. Fatso nodded. After turning off the image crystal, Qin Feiyang let Lu Hong rest on the bed. He also entered the tea room and half reclined on the chair. He closed his eyes and recuperated while pondering. There were many problems that he would face next. For example, battle arts. After stepping into the War King realm, battle arts were no longer of much use. And he, Wolf King, Fatso, and Lu Hong all needed battle arts. But the key was that battle arts were very precious, and everyone would carefully hide them. Back then, he should have read all the battle arts in the Imperial Palace's martial arts treasury. But at that time, he would never have thought that he would be reduced to such a state today. The night was silent. Early the next morning, Lu Hong woke up Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang washed up a little, changed into a clean set of clothes, scanned the room, and asked, "Where's the white-eyed wolf?" Lu Hong was startled, and shook her head. "I don't know either, didn't it tell you?" At this moment, the two of them realized that something was wrong. Wolf King must have snuck out while they were asleep last night. Qin Feiyang said, "Hurry up and ask the waiter." "All right." Lu Hong hurriedly walked out of the room and quickly returned. She shook her head and said, "Waiter, I didn't see it go down." Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows, walked to the window, and immediately found some white hair in the cracks of the window. He took a closer look and saw that it was Wolf King's hair. This bastard really ran away. Qin Feiyang was furious. Moreover, at that time, Wolf King must have been dead drunk. Otherwise, with its strength, it wouldn't have left white hair here. Lu Hong asked anxiously, "What do we do now?" Wolf King did not have any image crystal on him. The city was so big, and an entire night had passed. Who knew where it had gone? Most importantly, if it ran out drunk, it might cause some big trouble. It really doesn't make people worry at all. Forget it, it's better if it dies outside, it'll save us some trouble. Qin Feiyang quickly went downstairs with a belly full of anger. After Lu Hong paid the bill, the two of them left the Drunken Dream Inn and arrived at the entrance of the treasure pavilion. The precious treasure pavilion here was much more impressive than the one in Yen City. Even the two guards at the door were 9-star War King. Chapter 298. Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong were about to enter the treasure pavilion. However, when a conversation entered their ears, they immediately stopped in their tracks. "Have you heard? Last night, there was a wolf howl in the East City. The news spread early in the morning. I heard that someone saw a white wolf that was 4 or 5 feet long. It seemed to be drunk and crazy. Wolves drink too. What a weirdo. I also heard that the beast went to peek at a woman bathing and was chased by the woman for a few streets. Damn, what a piece of work. Who is that woman? I think she's a young lady from the Lu family. Awesome, she dares to go to the Lu family and cause trouble." A few middle-aged men passed by the street in front of the precious treasure pavilion and discussed with great interest. That bastard wolf. Qin Feiyang clenched his fists and his joints cracked. Don't you know that the old ancestor of the Lu clan is the city lord of the East City? Most importantly, he had been discovered. Wasn't this causing trouble for him? Lu Hong whispered, "Going to the Lu family to cause trouble is not a child's play. What should we do now?" Qin Feiyang said, "What else can we do? Find her. Get out of the way, get out of the way." Don't block my young master's way. But at this moment, a series of arrogant shouts sounded. Qin Feiyang looked in the direction of the sound and saw a group of people walking towards them. The two men in black leading the group looked ferocious and repulsive. Behind them, two middle-aged men in servant clothes were carrying an armchair. A young man in purple was half lying on the armchair. It was Lu Feng. And behind the armchair, there were more than 10 men in black. The group of people swaggered through the streets aggressively. The pedestrians in front of them retreated to the sides in panic. "Young Master Lu, why are you making such a big commotion?" Someone muttered in confusion. Someone immediately whispered, "I heard that a woman kicked his balls in the Drunken Dream Pavilion last night. He must be going to that woman to settle the score. Serves him right. He usually takes pleasure in toying with women. Now that his manhood has been destroyed by a woman, this is retribution. Keep your voice down. If he hears us, we'll be in big trouble." Some people were discussing in low voices. "You came so quickly." Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and brought Lu Hong into the treasure pavilion. "Aren't we going to find Wolf King?" Lu Hong asked. "I'm not going. The Lu family didn't catch it, so it must be running wild somewhere." Qin Feiyang shook his head. The mention of Wolf King gave him a headache. "Are you sure?" Lu Hong was surprised. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "If the white-eyed wolf is caught by the Lu family, Lu Feng will definitely bring him here. What if he gets killed?" Lu Hong was worried. "That's even more impossible. Lu Feng hates us to the bone. How could he kill it so easily?" Speaking of this, Qin Feiyang snorted and said, "If he dies, then he deserves it." Lu Hong shook her head and laughed. Qin Feiyang was a typical sharp-tongued but soft-hearted person. In fact, he was more worried about Wolf King's safety than anyone else. A staff member greeted Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong. It was a young woman, about 24 or 25 years old. She had a pretty face and a tall figure. She was wearing a long white dress. On her chest were the words "Treasure Pavilion" embroidered. "Qin Jie greets young master in Mississippi." She gently and politely bowed to Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong and asked with a smile, "How can I help you?" "Qin Jie?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked at her curiously. Lu Hong glanced at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "Miss Jie, we want to buy a furnace. The price is negotiable, but the quality must be good." Qin Jie's bright eyes flashed with surprise. She bowed and said, "I didn't know Miss was an alchemist. Sorry for the disrespect." Lu Hong wanted to explain that she was not an alchemist. But she suddenly remembered that she was indeed an alchemist. However, ever since she had followed Qin Feiyang, she had never refined pills again, causing her to almost forget that she still had the identity of a pill master. "Please follow me to the second floor." Qin Jie glanced at Qin Feiyang. She found that Qin Feiyang kept looking at her and was a little unhappy. Men were indeed the same. They could not take their eyes off a woman. But customers were above all. She did not show her displeasure. The two of them followed behind Qin Jie to the second floor. Lu Hong looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously and whispered, "Why are you staring at her like that? Have you taken a liking to her?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and smiled bitterly. "Your imagination is almost on par with Fatso's. I just couldn't help but observe her a little longer because her surname is Qin." Lu Hong came to a realization. Qin Feiyang was not a playboy. The first floor was huge, spanning hundreds of feet. There were all kinds of people. But the second floor was smaller. Those who could be on the second floor were all dressed in luxurious clothes. One could tell at a glance that they were either rich or noble. Qin Jie led the two of them to a counter. There were dozens of pill furnaces on the counter. Qin Jie walked behind the counter and introduced, "These pills come in different sizes and colors. They are all first-grade pill furnaces. Which one do you like?" "First-grade pill furnaces?" Qin Feiyang frowned. Lu Hong could tell that Qin Feiyang was not satisfied and asked, "Miss Jie, do you have any higher-grade pill furnaces?" Qin Jie was confused. First-grade pill furnaces can refine all first-grade pills. Isn't that enough? Not enough. Lu Hong shook her head. Qin Jie looked at Lu Hong in shock. Could this person already refine second-grade pills? But she looked like she was only 17 or 18 years old. Pill furnaces and pills were also divided into grades. First grade to ninth grade. Bone replenishing pill, healing pill, body tempering pill, qi gathering pill, and red fire glaze pill were all first-grade pills. Of course, the same grade was also divided into different grades. For example, healing pill and bone replenishing pill were the lowest grade pills among first-grade pills. Red fire glaze pill was undoubtedly the top grade pill among first-grade pills. As for the potential pill, logically speaking, it should also be a first-grade pill. But in terms of the power of the potential pill, even a ninth-grade pill could not compare to it. So, it was really hard to determine the grade of the potential pill. And battle chi pill, regeneration pill, prolongation pill, transformation pill, bottleneck breaking pill, and so on were second-grade pills. If a first-grade pill furnace was used to refine second-grade pills, not only would the quality be affected, but the success rate would also be lowered. It might even explode. For example, Qin Feiyang's furnace exploded when he was refining the prolongation pill. In fact, it was just one of the reasons that he lost control due to nervousness. Another reason was that the pill furnace's grade was not high enough. If it was a second-grade pill furnace or a higher-grade pill furnace, even if he lost control, the furnace might not explode. Cough. Seeing Qin Jie staring at Lu Hong for a long time and unable to come back to her senses, Qin Feiyang could not help coughing. At that moment, Qin Jie reacted and apologized, "I'm really sorry, please forgive me." "It's okay." Lu Hong smiled faintly. "To tell you the truth, we usually auction off pill furnaces that are of the second grade and above. It seems that only one pill furnace will be auctioned today. Why don't you go to the auction house and have a look? And there will also be a supreme-grade red fire glaze pill. You may need it." Qin Jie smiled. Supreme-grade red fire glaze pill? Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong looked at each other with a trace of surprise in their eyes. There were supreme-grade alchemists in the city? Qin Jie smiled and said, "If you two need it, I can take you to the auction house now." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded. Qin Jie walked out from behind the counter and led the two to a door. On both sides of the door, there were two 9-star battle monarch guards. Lu Hong chuckled and said, "It seems that you may not be popular in the city." "Not necessarily. After all, supreme-grade alchemists have different grades." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. It seemed that he did not take it to heart. However, there was some anticipation in his eyes. Qin Jie walked to the door and whispered a few words to the two guards. The two guards glanced at Qin Feiyang and Qin Jie, then opened the door. A dark corridor immediately appeared. "The two of you, please follow me." Qin Jie called out and walked in first. At the end of the corridor was a reception hall. Qin Jie walked through the reception hall for a while and then pushed open the door to a VIP room. She smiled and said, "Please come in." The room was not big, about 4 or 5 meters wide. The decorations were also very simple. There were only 2 chairs and a tea table. There was a transparent floor-to-ceiling window in front of them, through which they could clearly see the auction house outside. However, the huge auction house was deserted at the moment. There were only 50 or 60 people sitting on the chairs around the auction stage. Lu Hong asked, "How long until the auction starts?" Qin Diei smiled and said, "The sun has just risen. The auction will probably start in another hour. You two can have some tea to pass the time." Lu Hong nodded and said, "Then you can leave first." "Okay, I'll be in the reception hall outside. Call me if you need anything." Qin Diei smiled and walked out of the VIP room, closing the door on her way out. In less than 100 breaths, there was a commotion outside the door. "Young Master Lu, this is the treasure pavilion. You'd better calm down." It was Qin Diei's voice. "Go away." It was Lu Feng's shout. Bang! Immediately, the door of the VIP room was kicked open. Lu Feng entered the VIP room under the escort of 4 big men in black. "You think I can't find you if you hide in the treasure pavilion? Let me tell you, as long as you're in the city, no matter where you hide, it's easy for me to find you." Lu Feng sneered. Qin Diei also entered the VIP room. She walked to Qin Feiyang and Qin Diei and said apologetically, "Young master, young mistress, I'm sorry. I'll ask them to leave immediately." "It's okay." Lu Hong waved her hand and turned to look at Lu Feng. She said indifferently, "You think too highly of yourself. Do you think a playboy like you needs to hide? So what if I'm a playboy? My ancestor is the governor of the East City. My father is the head of the Lu family. I have the right to be a playboy. What about you two? You're just 2 little losers. Even if you want to be a playboy, you don't have the ability to be one." Lu Feng looked at the two with disdain. "Little losers?" Lu Hong was slightly taken aback. She glanced at the calm Qin Feiyang, and the corners of her mouth curled into a playful smile. A mere disciple of a family and the son of an emperor. Who was the real loser? Chapter 299. Seeing the playful smile on the corner of Lu Hong's mouth, Lu Feng's heart burned with rage, and he said sternly, "Stinking bitch, what's with that expression?" Lu Hong's expression turned cold as she said, "Clean your mouth for me. You stinky bitch who has been ridden by thousands of men. Shameless bitch. So what if this young master scolds you?" Lu Feng sneered. Slap. Lu Hong slapped Lu Feng's face with lightning speed. He was sent flying. With a wail, he hit the wall behind him and spat out blood. The group of black-robed men were stunned. Suddenly, their eyes revealed an ominous glint as they rushed towards Lu Hong. "Stop. This is not your Lu family. You can't do as you please. Don't blame me for throwing you out if you dare to cause trouble here again," Qin Diei said angrily. The group of men in black stopped and looked back at Lu Feng. Lu Feng got up from the ground and touched his burning face. He glared at Qin Feiyang and Qin Diei, his eyes spitting fire. "Let's see." He coldly threw down these words, then angrily left with a group of black-robed men. Phew. Qin Diei heaved a sigh of relief and turned to Lu Hong. "So you were the one who beat Lu Feng up last night?" Lu Hong smiled. "A good-for-nothing like him will feel uncomfortable if I don't beat him up." Qin Diei pursed her lips. "You're such a sentimental person. But you have to be careful. Lu Feng is narrow-minded and will definitely take revenge. He won't let this go." Lu Hong cupped her hands. "Thank you for your reminder." After Qin Diei left, Lu Hong walked to Qin Feiyang and whispered, "You won't blame me for hitting him without permission, right?" "Why would I blame you? If it were me, I would have hit him harder." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Lu Hong cracked a smile, her pretty appearance was rather enchanting. Outside, people kept entering the auction house. An hour later, the auction hall was already packed with people. It was noisy and clamorous. The various VIP rooms were also occupied by the disciples of the various wealthy families. Boom! A loud chime of a bell exploded in the auction hall. The scene immediately quieted down. A healthy old man in white walked up to the auction stage under the escort of 10 guards. Subsequently, the 10 guards stood at the edge of the high platform and scanned the area in front of them with sharp eyes. The white-clothed old man scanned the crowd and said with a smile, "I am Yin Yuan Ming. Thank you all for coming to Zhenbao Pavilion. I hope that everyone can participate in today's auction peacefully." Steward Yin, don't you find it tiring to say such courteous words every day? Let's get started. That's right. Who is so blind to cause trouble in the treasure pavilion? Someone below urged. Of course it's tiring to say it every day, but it's necessary. It can be considered as a warning to some restless people. Alright, let's cut the crap and get off to a good start. Today's first auction item is the supreme grade red fire glaze elixir that everyone has been longing for. Yin Yuan Ming waved his hand and a jade box appeared out of thin air. After opening it, a round, fiery red elixir immediately appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The starting price is 4 million. Each bid must not be less than 100,000. There is no upper limit. Begin. Yin Yuan Ming did not introduce the red fire glaze elixir in detail. He only explained the rules and the auction began. 4, 1 million. 4, 2 million. 4, 3 million. The auction hall suddenly rang out with bids. Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong looked at each other. The starting price was 4 million. One must know that in Yen City, the supreme grade red fire glaze elixir was only 4 million. This city was indeed the world of the rich. We now have 23 supreme grade red fire glaze elixir and 66 sets of red fire glaze elixir herbs. In total, there are 89 elixirs. If we auction them, we will definitely earn hundreds of millions of gold coins. Lu Hong said. The red fire glaze elixir is meaningless to us. We can auction it. Qin Feiyang nodded. Lu Hong stood up and said, I will arrange it now. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said with a smile, no hurry. Let's see the final price first. You can also raise the price to test the waters. Test the waters? Lu Hong was stunned for a moment before she said, 6 million. 5 million. Before she could finish her sentence, another gloomy voice sounded from the VIP room next door. And it was a bid of 500,000. I see. Lu Hong showed a look of understanding. The owner of the voice was Lu Feng. She thought that Lu Feng had left the treasure pavilion, but she did not expect him to be next door. It turned out that this was the purpose of testing the waters. It seemed that Qin Feiyang had already expected that Lu Feng would be entangled with them today. Sigh. Lu Hong sighed inwardly. After 2 years, she thought that she was already very smart, but compared to Qin Feiyang, she knew that she was still far behind. However, Lu Feng was too impatient. Lu Hong asked, do you want to play with him? Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, don't rush. It was easy to play with Lu Feng, but this way, the price would be inflated, and they would not know the true value of the supreme grade red fire glaze elixir in the capital. Of course, they could also ask Qin Die. But Qin Feiyang only believed what he heard and saw with his own eyes. Why did they stop after just one bid? In the VIP room next door, Lu Feng was puzzled. Young master, they must be afraid of you. That's right. Look at how poor they are. I know that they are not from rich families. How would they dare to fight with you? The group of men in black smiled obsequiously. Lu Feng nodded and said, yes, they must be too scared to bid. I'll rest for a while. Keep an eye on them. As soon as they bid, immediately raise the price. I don't want them to get anything today. Lu Feng ordered and closed his eyes to recover. The group of men in black looked at each other, their eyes full of mockery. These two really overestimated themselves. How dare they go against the young master? Today was destined to end in tragedy. A few hundred breaths later. The supreme-grade red fire glaze elixir was sold for 11 million. Almost 3 times the price of the county of Yen. Lu Hong said in disbelief. Qin Feiyang said, go find Qin Diei and buy a supreme-grade elixir. Any kind will do. Okay. Lu Hong got up and quickly walked out of the VIP room. Soon. She returned with a jade box in her hand. Qin Feiyang took the jade box and opened it. A healing elixir appeared in front of his eyes. There was a circle of elixir patterns on it. And it was very eye-catching. It was almost no different from the supreme-grade healing elixirs he refined. Qin Feiyang frowned and asked, did you ask who refined this? Lu Hong said, yes. According to Qin Diei, it was made by Lu Xingchen. Lu Xingchen? Qin Feiyang frowned. Why did this name sound so familiar? Lu Hong said, have you forgotten that Ren Wuxuang contacted Lu Xingchen back in Yen City? So it's him. Qin Feiyang remembered. Ren Wuxuang had also warned him that Lu Xingchen was not a good person and not to get too close to him. But this person was a supreme-grade elixir refiner, which was really unexpected. Lu Hong said again, it is said that he is also a disciple of the sanctum. His current strength is even stronger than Ren Wuxuang. The sanctum. Qin Feiyang suddenly stood up. What's wrong? Lu Hong was shocked by his sudden action. Qin Feiyang asked, yesterday, the House Lord said that I should report to the sanctum today? Lu Hong nodded. Oh my, I almost forgot about it. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead and returned to his seat, saying, let Qin Diei in immediately. The sanctum was in the central city. With his current speed, it would be dark by the time he arrived. He could not delay any longer. Okay. Lu Hong walked to the door and opened it, saying, Miss Diei, please come in. Qin Diei hurried in and asked, may I know what young miss wants? Lu Hong said, we still have to report to the sanctum. Can you make an exception and sell me a high-grade elixir furnace? Young miss is a disciple of the sanctum? Qin Diei was surprised. Lu Hong laughed, not yet. Qin Diei nodded in realization, and said, but with young Miss's strength, entering the sanctum is a sure thing. As for the elixir furnace, young miss, please wait a moment, I will ask Manager Yin. With that, Qin Diei turned and left. Not long later. She entered the auction house and walked up to the auction stage, whispering a few words into Yin Yuanming's ear. Yin Yuanming glanced at Qin Feiyang's VIP room, thought for a moment, then nodded to Qin Diei. Qin Diei immediately turned and walked down the auction stage. About 100 breaths later. She came to the VIP room and laughed, Manager Yin has agreed to sell it to you privately, but according to the auction price. The price is negotiable. Lu Hong laughed. Qin Diei waved her hand, and with a clang, an elixir furnace appeared on the ground. Qin Feiyang stood up and looked at it carefully. The elixir furnace was like an iron cauldron, with 2 ears on both sides and 3 legs at the bottom. It was made of high-quality bronze, with mountains and rivers carved on it. Qin Diei said, this is a bronze elixir furnace, a second grade. The auction price is above 20 million, how about I give you 20 million? So expensive? Lu Hong was shocked. A second-grade elixir furnace was 20 million? Qin Diei laughed, young miss, don't worry, our precious treasure pavilion has a clear price, we will not take advantage of you just because you are going to report to the sanctum. Alright, I will go with you to settle the bill. Lu Hong said helplessly. Qin Feiyang said, we will also buy an image crystal and a few teleportation doors. Lu Hong nodded and followed Qin Jie to the reception hall. Qin Feiyang also brought the bronze elixir furnace into the ancient castle to refine the potential elixir. Fatso sorted out the potential elixir ingredients for him. There were a total of 12 sets. Qin Feiyang first familiarized himself with the new elixir furnace. Then, in less than 200 breaths, all the elixirs were refined. Qin Feiyang used 2 jade boxes to store 6 elixirs. One of the jade boxes was placed on the altar, while the other jade box was taken out by him. After waiting for a while, Lu Hong finally returned and could not help but complain. The cost of living here was ridiculously high. The price of the image crystal was twice that of Yen City, 10 million each. The teleportation door was even more exaggerated, 100 million each, 100 million? Chapter 300. When he was in the capital, he had never traveled far away. Plus, there was a fixed portal. So, he didn't know much about the price of the portal. When he heard the astronomical figure, his jaw almost dropped. 100 million for one. That was ridiculously expensive. Qin Feiyang asked, "How many did you buy?" "With the gold coins we have now, we can only buy 200 or so." "How many more can I buy?" Lu Hong smiled bitterly. She only bought 5 in Yancheng. This thing was truly not something that ordinary people could afford to consume. The most important thing was that the portal was a one-time consumable. Once it was opened, it was equivalent to 100 million gold coins gone. Qin Feiyang said, 5 is enough. Go to the Sea of Despair right away and give this jade box to the 3 seahorses. Ask them to bring it to the princess. Lu Hong took the jade box suspiciously. She opened it and found that there were 6 potential elixirs. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Go and come back quickly." "Okay." Lu Hong nodded. She took out a portal and opened it quickly. 100 million gold coins gone. She sighed deeply and walked in. Qin Feiyang also felt the pinch. Next, the Supreme Grade Bliss Elixir. The starting price is 500,000. Each increment must be no less than 10,000. Yin Yuanming's voice sounded. Bliss Elixir? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He pursed his lips and said without hesitation, 1 million. What? He raised the price by 500,000 at once? Is this person crazy? Judging from his voice, he is quite young. How can he have kidney deficiency? There was an uproar in the auction room. Kidney deficiency? Qin Feiyang's face twitched. Although he was already 17 years old, he had never touched a woman. How could he have kidney deficiency? These people were really imaginative. Young master, he is bidding. In the VIP room next door, the group of men in black shuddered and hurriedly woke Lu Feng up. Lu Feng rubbed his eyes and asked, "What is being auctioned now?" "Bliss Elixir." One of the men said. "Bliss Pill?" Lu Feng was stunned, then laughed loudly and said, "I really didn't expect that he's actually a soft-footed shrimp." The floor-to-ceiling windows were not soundproof. When everyone heard that, they immediately burst into laughter. Qin Feiyang coughed and said with a faint smile, "Even if I'm a soft-footed shrimp, I'm still better than some people who don't even have shrimp, right?" Everyone was stunned for a moment before they burst into laughter. Lu Feng lowered his head and looked at his crotch. His face was filled with hostility as he shouted, "This young master bids 2 million. Qin Feiyang chuckled and said, "You don't even have that. What do you need the ecstasy pill for?" 5 million. Lu Feng gritted his teeth and roared, "This young master is willing, 10 million. Schwa." At this moment, Lu Hong appeared out of nowhere and said, "It's done. The 3 seahorses have also returned." Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at the auction house. He sighed and said, "Alas, instead of fighting with me, why don't you hurry up and find a way to save your little bird?" 50 million. Bastard, this young master has nothing but money. Today, I'll crush you with money. 100 million. Lu Feng roared hysterically. Well, your family is too rich. I can't afford it. I admit defeat. I won't accompany you. See you next time. Qin Feiyang said regretfully. Then he got up and strode out of the VIP room with Lu Hong. Lu Hong said suspiciously, "What are you and Lu Feng fighting for?" 100 million. Bliss elixir. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Lu Hong was stunned, then she couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. There was dead silence in the auction house. No one had expected that a supreme-grade bliss elixir would be sold for 100 million gold coins. Yin Yuanming, who was on the auction stage, was also stunned. After he came back to his senses, he turned to look at the empty VIP room. There was a strange glow in his old eyes. Only now did he realize that everyone had underestimated that young man. Although the bidding process for the bliss elixir was very short, every word that this man said hit Lu Feng's weak point. And he made Lu Feng lose his mind step by step. In other words, this was a trap. Lu Feng was like a fool. He was led by the nose by this man and fell into the trap step by step. And he fell deeper and deeper. This kind of ability to plan and control the whole situation was really unprecedented. What was this man's background? When did such a scheming young man appear in the city? Yin Yuanming looked at Lu Feng's VIP room again. He saw that Lu Feng was laughing complacently inside. He had been tricked. Not only did he not realize it, but he was also complacent. Why was there such a huge gap between them? Yin Yuanming shook his head and asked, "Young Master Lu Feng has bid 100 million gold coins. Is there anyone else who wants to raise the price?" "Only an idiot would raise the price." Yin Yuanming said with a smile, "Well, congratulations to young Master Lu Feng for getting the supreme-grade bliss elixir." Smack! At that moment, loud clapping sounds could be heard in the auction house. On the surface, they seemed to be cheering for Lu Feng, but in fact, there was a sense of sarcasm. The group of men in black glanced at the expressions of the people below and their eyes gradually darkened. One of them turned to look at Lu Feng and said in a deep voice, "Young master, we seem to have been tricked." Tricked? Lu Feng was happy. Hearing this, he frowned slightly. The next moment, he stood up suddenly and his face became extremely ferocious. "Bastards, I'll fight you to the death. Let's go and get even with them." With a loud roar, he stormed out of the VIP room with a group of lackeys. Immediately, he saw Qin Feiyang and Qin Diei about to leave through the door. Lu Feng shouted, "Stop right there." Qin Diei stood in front of Lu Feng and said with a smile, "Young Master Lu, wait a moment. You can only leave after the bill is settled." "Will I go back on my words?" "Get lost!" Lu Feng shouted. Qin Diei's face turned cold as she shouted coldly, "Men, you can't stop young Master Lu. If you don't pay the bill, don't even think about leaving today." 10 guards of the 9-star War King immediately ran over and surrounded Lu Feng and his group. "Idiot!" Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong turned around and looked, the corners of their mouths pursed into a mocking smile. Then, under Lu Feng's angry gaze, they walked out of the door and walked down the stairs to the first floor. Lu Hong shook her head and said, "I've seen hedonistic disciples, but I've never seen such a hedonistic person. You'll get used to it when you see more." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Lu Hong nodded and asked, "Now, are we going directly to the sacred palace or are we going to find Wolf King?" "Of course we're going to find Wolf King. We can't leave it alone in the East City." Qin Feiyang was furious again. Couldn't this wolf cub make people less worried? At the same time, a wolf proudly walked out of the Drunken Dream Inn, then walked towards the precious treasure pavilion in large strides. He kept cursing in his heart. Little Qin Zi, little Hong, you two bastards didn't wait for me. You're too much. Who else could it be but Wolf King? But at this moment, it was covered in dust and looked quite embarrassed. At the same time, hundreds of meters behind Wolf King, there was an intersection. A 15 or 16-year-old girl in white was looking around, with a dozen men in black, as if looking for something. The girl in white turned and saw Wolf King in front of her. She shouted angrily, "Pervert, stop right there. Damn, didn't I get rid of them? How did they find me again?" Wolf King hurriedly ran away. The girl in white also chased after him with the group of men in black. "Quick, look, it's the ruffian wolf that peeped at Miss Lu taking a bath. It's running on its feet like a human. Huh, it's so funny." The pedestrians on the street couldn't help laughing when they saw Wolf King's funny appearance. "Stop laughing. Brother Xiaofan took advantage of your absence to peep at your wife taking a bath." When Wolf King passed by a middle-aged man, he grinned at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's face fell in an instant. He scolded, "Ruffian wolf, try it if you dare." "Forget it, I'm very picky. Looking at your face, I don't think your wife is that beautiful." The Wolf King chuckled. The middle-aged man was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Soon, Wolf King rushed to the gate of the treasure pavilion. But just as he was about to rush in, "Stop! Fierce beasts are forbidden in the treasure pavilion." The two guards guarding the door suddenly stopped in front of him. "Why?" Wolf King stared at them. The one on the left said, "This is the rule." Wolf King said, "I have money." The guard on the right said, "You can't go in even if you have money." Just at this time, two young men in luxurious clothes passed by him, looked at him curiously, and strode into the treasure pavilion. And on their shoulders, there was a palm-sized small beast. Wolf King pointed at the two people and wondered, why can they bring fierce beasts in? The two young men in luxurious clothes were slightly stunned. They couldn't help but stop and turn to look at Wolf King with playful eyes. The two of them were 7 feet tall and looked dignified. They were about 23 or 24 years old. The temperament they exuded was quite extraordinary. "Because you're too shameless. You even dare to peep at Miss Lu, who dares to let you in? You'd better run, Miss Lu has already caught up. If you're caught by her, with her personality, I'm afraid she'll throw you into a fryer." The two of them laughed heartily and entered the treasure pavilion without looking back. Wolf King turned his head and his pupils shrank. 30 to 40 meters away, the girl in white shouted, "Rogue wolf, if you still dare to run, I'll skin you. Damn you. Although I'm very handsome, you don't have to be so shameless, right? Moreover, I'm really not interested in you human women, can you just let me go?" Wolf King was about to cry. Ugh! The faces of the people present couldn't help but twitch. Including the two guards. They were determined not to let this rogue wolf enter the treasure pavilion. He was too shameless. "Pervert, I'll fight you to the death." The girl in white clenched her fists and gritted her teeth as she rushed towards Wolf King. "Stop chasing, I won't marry you even if you catch up." "No, I won't marry you either." "Strange? Are all the human girls in the city so bold? I can't stand it, retreat." Chapter 301. Asshole, have you had enough? At this moment, an angry roar exploded in the treasure pavilion. Qin Feiyang was like an enraged lion. He rushed out of the treasure pavilion like lightning and fiercely kicked the Wolf King's butt. "Awoo!" Wolf King howled. Like a kite with a broken string, it flew into the air and drew an elegant trajectory. Finally, with a bang, its head was down and its butt was up. It smashed the ground of the street and its whole head was stuck in the ground. Everyone was stunned. Who was so bold to kick this ruffian wolf? Was he not afraid of being targeted by it and the whole family of women would suffer? The girl in white and the group of men in black also looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze. What was going on? The enemy of the pervert? Ha, you damn pervert, how many people have you offended? Waha, you really deserve it. The girl in white put her hands on her waist and laughed. A man in black whispered, Miss, in public, pay attention to your image. Ahem. The girl in white coughed and nodded, yes, I have to be more reserved. She put her hands behind her back and skipped over to Qin Feiyang. She praised him in a mischievous manner, you did very well. Men, reward him with a few gold coins. A group of men in black followed. One of them took out 5 gold coins and threw it to Qin Feiyang, saying, hurry up and thank the miss for her reward. Qin Feiyang caught the 5 gold coins and was a little stunned. Is it the first time you've seen so many gold coins? Oh, don't be polite, quickly accept it. Who told this miss to be in a good mood now? The girl in white waved her hand generously. Qin Feiyang was stunned. 5 gold coins? How could she have the nerve to take it out? How could she have the nerve to say such generous words? And let him thank her? Did she think he was a beggar? Lu Hong, who was standing behind Qin Feiyang, was also stunned. Looking at this girl's appearance, she should be 15 or 16 years old. How could she still be so silly and cute? So naive? Someone in the crowd whispered, if I remember correctly, they seem to be in cahoots with Ruffian Wolf. I saw it myself last night. Shoo. Someone at the side immediately made a shushing gesture. What he meant was, don't meddle in other people's business. Miss Lu, is it? After Qin Feiyang came back to his senses, he weighed the gold coins in his hand and raised his head to look at Miss Lu. He smiled and said, you should keep these gold coins for yourself. He stuffed the 5 gold coins back into the white-clothed girl's hand. The white-clothed girl was stunned. Qin Feiyang ignored her and pointed to the group of black-clothed men behind the girl. He said to Lu Hong, these big brothers have been chasing us for so long. They must be tired. Give them some money for wine. All right. Lu Hong nodded with a smile. With a gentle wave of her jade-like hand, a pile of glittering gold coins appeared in the air a dozen meters above them. Like a golden rain, they poured down in torrents. Wow, so many gold coins. It's at least a few 100,000. Now that's called generous. Compared to them, Miss Lu is so stingy. The crowd suddenly became noisy. Miss Lu and the black-clothed men also raised their heads to look at the falling gold coins. Every gold coin that landed on their bodies was like an invisible slap to their faces. They had no dignity left. They felt that their previous behavior was like a clown's. Boom! With a loud noise, Wolf King's 2 claws hit the ground. Dust and smoke filled the air. A huge pit suddenly appeared. He climbed out of the pit in a sorry state and roared, who is plotting against me? Are you tired of living? But when he rushed out of the dust and saw Qin Feiyang, his pupils suddenly shrank. I'm tired of living. Do you have the ability to touch me? Qin Feiyang stared at him coldly. Cough, this is a misunderstanding. Yes, it's a misunderstanding. Wolf King smiled embarrassedly. Lu Hong rolled her eyes and scolded, you're really good at fooling around. Do you know how worried we were? Wolf King said, it's like this. I was bored last night, so I went out for a stroll. I definitely didn't cause any trouble. Qin Feiyang angrily stared, pointed at the girl in white, and shouted, if you didn't cause any trouble, then what's wrong with her? That, Wolf King stammered. A pair of dark eyes looked around stealthily, as if preparing to escape. You two, don't run. At this moment, another group of black-clothed men fiercely rushed out of the treasure pavilion. Yes, miss. When the group of black-clothed men came out and saw the girl in white, they couldn't help but be stunned. They bowed together and said, "Greetings, Miss Tingting." Lu Tingting said, "Why are you here? Where's that boneless idiot Lu Feng?" Boneless idiot? Qin Feiyang's face twitched. He really didn't know whether Lu Tingting was capricious or not. Or was she brainless? And those black-clothed men also had bitter smiles on their faces. One of them pointed at Qin Feiyang and said angrily, "Young Master Lu Feng was tricked by that guy. He's now detained in the treasure pavilion." Tricked? Lu Tingting was stunned and asked, "How?" That black-clothed man said, "That guy provoked young Master Lu Feng into bidding for a supreme-grade bliss elixir with 100 million gold coins." What? Does he have too much money to burn, 100 million gold coins to buy a bliss elixir? What a prodigal. If he were my son, I'd definitely strangle him to death. The surrounding people discussed animatedly, their faces full of disdain and regret. The white-clothed girl was also dumbfounded. When she came back to her senses, she immediately said angrily, "That idiot doesn't even have a bird. Why would he want a bliss elixir? What an idiot." Qin Feiyang, Wolf King, and Lu Hong looked at each other and couldn't help but wonder if Lu Tingting and Lu Feng were biological siblings. Ahem. Miss, watch your words. A black-clothed man behind Lu Tingting lowered his head and whispered when he saw the strange looks of the surrounding people. "That's 100 million gold coins. If he keeps doing this, the Lu clan will be squandered away sooner or later. Back then, when he was just born, father should have just strangled him to death. I've never seen such a retarded person. He's a disgrace to the Lu clan." Lu Tingting said angrily. "Miss Tingting, this isn't young Master Lu Feng's fault. It's that woman who broke young Master Lu Feng's manhood." The two black-clothed men smiled bitterly. "Ah." Lu Tingting looked at Lu Hong in surprise. Lu Hong nodded and smiled at her. They all thought that Lu Tingting would definitely fly into a rage and avenge Lu Feng. But the result was not. She actually gave Lu Hong a thumbs up and said, "Sister, you're really good, but you're too gentle. You should have killed him directly." Lu Hong was stunned. Qin Feiyang was also dumbfounded and his jaw almost dropped. This Lu Tingting and Lu Feng were definitely not biological siblings from the same mother. But even if he's useless, he's still my family, so, speaking of this. Lu Tingting's eyes suddenly froze. She waved her slender arm and shouted, "Take them down for me." Two groups of black-clothed men immediately pounced on the two people and the wolf. Qin Feiyang said lightly, "There are rules in the city that forbid fighting. Do you dare to give it a try?" The group of black-clothed men stopped in unison, cold sweat dripping down their backs. In a moment of anger, they actually forgot this point. Lu Tingting could not help but frown. Swoosh! At this moment, a black-clothed old man landed in front of everyone like a bolt of lightning. "Greetings, Steward Lu." The group of black-clothed men bowed and saluted. Steward Lu nodded and looked at Lu Tingting helplessly. "Miss, you're precious. How can you run around like this? It's none of your business. Go away." Lu Tingting glared at him unhappily. Steward Lu felt bitter in his heart. This little master was really hard to serve. Suddenly, a cold light flashed in his eyes. He looked up at Qin Feiyang and Wolf King and said, "The patriarch invites the three of you to the Lu family as guests." Guests? Qin Feiyang sneered secretly. Once they entered the Lu family's gate, they could forget about coming out alive. Sorry, we're not free now. Besides, we're just nobodies. We really don't dare to disturb the Lu family. Please thank the patriarch for his kindness on my behalf. Goodbye. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said with a smile. Then he turned and left with Lu Hong and Wolf King. I'm afraid it's not up to you whether you want to go or not. Steward Lu smiled hoarsely and waved his hand. Stop them. A group of black-clothed men rushed up and surrounded the two people and the wolf. What's wrong? Steward Lu, are you going to bully us? Qin Feiyang glanced at the black-clothed men in front of him and said without turning his head. Am I? I'm very sincere in inviting you to be guests. So don't misunderstand. Keep an eye on them. I'll go and bring young Master Lu Feng out. Steward Lu said to the black-clothed men and turned to walk toward the treasure pavilion. Little Qin Zi, what should we do? Wolf King said telepathically. Aren't you the one who did this? Qin Feiyang glared at it and said in a low voice, You can't go to the Lu clan. Lu Hong, act according to the situation. Lu Hong nodded subtly. She also knew that the Lu clan would not dare to do anything to them in front of so many people. However, once they entered the Lu clan, they would be in big trouble. Phew! Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and suddenly looked up at the sky. He shouted, Look, the patriarch is here. Patriarch! Everyone on the street was shocked and hurriedly looked up. Lu Tingting and the black-clothed men did the same. However, they did not see anyone. At the same time, Lu Hong opened a teleportation door, and the two of them and the wolf rushed in like lightning. Oh no! We've been fooled. Stop them. Lu Tingting was the first to react and hurriedly shouted. However, it was too late. When the black-clothed men rushed in, the portal had already disappeared. What a cunning person. However, it's still too early for him to escape from my grasp. Lu Tingting smiled coldly and shouted, Let's go. Miss Tingting, aren't we going to wait for young Master Lu Feng? A black-clothed man hurriedly asked. I feel like vomiting when I see that idiot. Lu Tingting snorted and took the lead to leave. The black-clothed men who came with her hurriedly followed her. Chapter 302. Where are they? A moment later. Steward Lu led Lu Feng out and found that the two men and the wolf were gone. His face was full of surprise. A black-clothed man said timidly, They used the portal to escape. Useless trash. Lu Feng was furious. He went up and slapped the black-clothed man's face. The black-clothed men felt wronged. The two men and the wolf were cunning and had the portal. How could they stop them? This matter is not urgent. As long as they are still in the city, they can't escape. However, they even have the portal, which shows that their identity is not simple. Before dealing with them, I'm afraid we have to investigate their identity. After Steward Lu finished, he looked at Lu Feng and said, Young Master Lu Feng, the patriarch is very angry. You have to be mentally prepared. Lu Feng's heart sank. His hatred for Qin Feiyang and the others grew stronger. Steward Lu waved his hand and left with Lu Feng and the group of black-clothed men. As soon as they left, the street in front of the treasure pavilion was noisy. Not only did they kick Lu Feng's little bird, but they also peeped at the miss of the Lu family bathing. Why don't they go to heaven? Do you know their names? I don't know. I don't know either. I've never seen them before. This is interesting. They look young, but their strength is ridiculously strong. There should be someone behind them. In front of the patriarch's mansion. Swoosh! Two men and a wolf appeared out of thin air. The four guards at the door were shocked. When they saw that it was Qin Feiyang and the others, they were relieved. But then, They felt that it was inconceivable. They were teleported here. As expected of the Mrs. Friend, rich and overbearing. Qin Feiyang smiled at the four guards, then lowered his head to look at Wolf King. He was about to scold him. However, at this time, the image crystal was abnormal. Qin Feiyang took it out. Battle chi surged, and a peerless beauty quickly condensed. It was Ren Wuxuang. But at this moment, her face was full of anger. She looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "What are you doing? Didn't I tell you to go to the temple? Look at the situation now." Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Sister, don't be angry. There was a small accident. I will go to the Holy Palace immediately." "Sis." The four guards looked at each other, their eyes filled with shock. They thought that the two of them and the wolf could only be friends with Miss Wuxuang. But who would have thought that their relationship would be so good? Immediately, there was a hint of respect in their eyes. "Then go quickly. By the way, tell the four guards not to reveal our relationship. One last thing, don't use my grandfather's name to swindle others. Especially Fatso and the white-eyed wolf. Tell them to behave. If my grandfather finds out, the consequences will be dire." Ren Wuxuang said. "I understand." Qin Feiyang nodded. "How worrisome." Ren Wuxuang glared at him snappily, and the shadow quickly dissipated. Qin Feiyang put away the image crystal, stared at Wolf King angrily, and said, "Did you hear that? Don't act recklessly again." The Wolf King smiled awkwardly. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at it and raised his head to look at the four guards. "Little brother, don't worry, we will keep our mouths shut. Yes, please take care of us in the future." Without waiting for Qin Feiyang to speak, the four of them smiled and flattered him. "Thank you, big brothers." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and asked, "May I ask how to get to the Holy Palace?" "Turn around and walk straight ahead. Soon you will see a crossroads. Turn left. Walk for a few thousand meters and then turn right. Then walk straight for a while and you will see the Holy Palace." One of the guards said. "Thank you." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and thanked him, and then left quickly with Lu Hong and Wolf King. "It seems that your cheap sister still doesn't know what we did in the East City." After leaving the mansion, Lu Hong looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled. Qin Feiyang said, "The two cities are too far away, the news won't reach here so quickly. But when Ren Wuxuang knows, he will definitely scold him." He looked down at Wolf King and frowned. "Why did you go to the Lu family last night?" "I just wanted to see how powerful the Lu family is. Wait, I finally sneaked into the Lu family, and then I bumped into Lu Tingting taking a bath. If I didn't escape quickly, I would have fallen into her hands. Damn it, I'm so unlucky." Wolf King said angrily. "Impressive, you can escape from the Lu family." Lu Hong gave him a thumbs up. "Are you kidding me? I'm the peerless wolf god, how can those idiots catch me?" Wolf King said proudly again. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at his arrogant look. Peerless wolf god? This guy kept mentioning these words. Could it be that there was really such a thing? Soon, a stone staircase entered Qin Feiyang's sight. The stone staircase was very wide, about 5 to 6 meters tall, and also very tall. Qin Feiyang looked at it, and estimated that there were at least 1,000 steps. There were hundreds of people on the stone staircase. The youngest was about 14 or 15 years old, and the oldest was about 30 years old. They were walking towards the top step by step, and seemed to be struggling. And at the top, there was a stone tablet that was more than 10 meters tall. On the stone tablet, there were 2 large golden words engraved on it. Sacred Palace. Like iron hooks and silver strokes, it was vigorous and powerful, and emitted a shocking aura. Lu Hong looked at the stone tablet, then looked at the stone staircase, and said doubtfully, "Is this stone staircase the same as the one in the Pill Palace, and is a test for everyone?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Let's go and ask." Below the stone staircase, there were two groups of people gathered. They were all very young, and different from the others. Their aura was far superior to those on the stone staircase. They were also wearing the same clothes. Only the color was different. The group on the left was wearing white long clothes. The group on the right was wearing black long clothes. But there was a small sword embroidered on their chest. The small sword was the symbol of the sacred palace. In other words, these two groups of people were disciples of the sacred palace. Someone else is here. There's another wolf. When two people and a wolf walked over, the two groups of people also noticed them, and their expressions were a little surprised. When they reached the bottom of the stone staircase, Qin Feiyang glanced at the two groups of people. He was surprised to find that there was a table in the middle of the two groups of people. There was a pile of gold coins on the table. What's the meaning of this? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. At this time, Lu Hong asked, "Excuse me, what is the meaning of this stone staircase? Not only is she beautiful, but her voice is also nice." The eyes of a young man in white lit up, and he smiled and said, "Beautiful lady, is this your first time in the sacred palace?" Lu Hong nodded. "Then I'll have to introduce him to you. This stone staircase has a total of 1,000 steps. On the stone staircase, there is a pressure, and the higher you go, the stronger the pressure. Only those who reach the top are considered to have successfully completed the test." The young man in white came in front of Lu Hong, and said with a smile, with a hint of flattery, "It's that simple?" Lu Hong was surprised. Simple? The two groups of people were stunned, and suddenly burst into laughter. "Beautiful lady, don't look at it on the surface, it's actually not simple at all. Do you see the hundreds of people up there? At most, only a dozen people can reach the top. Even if they reach the top, they may not be able to enter the sacred palace. Because this stone staircase is only the first test, the real test is still to come. I can tell you very responsibly that in the end, there will not be more than 3 people who can become disciples of the sacred palace." The young man in white laughed. "Stop talking nonsense, quickly place your bets. I bet that they can last for at most an hour on the stone staircase, 50 gold coins. Then I bet that they can last for less than an hour, 30 gold coins. You guys are too boring, betting for such a long time. I bet that they can't last for more than 100 breaths, 100 gold coins." The two groups of people took out their gold coins, and chattered noisily. "So it's gambling here." Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. "Do you guys want to bet too? As long as you can reach the top within 100 breaths, the gold coins on the 2 gambling tables will be yours." The two groups of people began to instigate. Lu Hong glanced at the 2 gambling tables, and shook her head, "Too little, not interested." In fact, it was not little, the 2 gambling tables added together should be tens of thousands of gold coins. But in the eyes of Qin Feiyang and the others, tens of thousands of gold coins were not even pocket money. "This is little." The two groups of people were stunned. Could it be that these 2 people and 1 wolf were rich people? "Are you looking down on us? I'll bet all my gold coins." A young man in black took out a qianquan bag and slammed it on the table. "I'll bet all my gold coins too." "Me too." The two groups of people took out their qianquan bags and threw them on the table, looking at Qin Feiyang and the others provocatively. Lu Hong walked up and looked at them one by one, then turned to Qin Feiyang and smiled. "There's only a little more than 5 million in total." Qin Feiyang said, "Then let's bet. I don't have any pocket money in my pocket anyway, it's a waste not to take it." What a big tone. "Kid, don't be arrogant, you'll cry later." The two groups of people were indignant. Lu Hong waved her hand, and a large pile of gold coins appeared, piling up on the ground like a small mountain. Damn, so many. Could she be the legendary Miss Perfect? The two groups of people were stunned. When they looked at Lu Hong again, their eyes were different. Lu Hong said with a smile, "I don't know how many there are here, but it's definitely not less than yours." After saying that, she turned around and walked to Qin Feiyang's side. At that moment, the eyes of those people changed again. They seemed to regard Qin Feiyang as a rival in love. "Hey, little Hongzi, maybe one of them is your future Mr. Right," Wolf King said with a sly smile. "Just them?" Lu Hong shook her head with a trace of cold arrogance. "Let's go." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and took the lead to step on the stairs. Sure enough, there was a pressure shrouding them. But it could be completely ignored. This kind of pressure, for a brother who has opened the door of potential, is simply child's play. Wolf King disdained it, took a step forward, and ran toward the top. Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong looked at each other and smiled, and quickly chased after Wolf King. Damn! What's going on? They actually ran? The two groups of people below were dumbfounded on the spot. Since the establishment of the Holy Temple, such a situation had never happened. The hundreds of people who were trying their best to climb up were also dumbfounded. Wasn't this too abnormal? Could it be that they couldn't feel the pressure? 10 breaths had just passed. 2 people and 1 wolf reached the top, and the whole process was extremely easy without the slightest pause. Abnormal. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.